From the sky, small droplets of rain poured down, causing Feng Zhiyao's hair to become damp and her skin to become creamy. Her morning makeup had long since disappeared from her simple face. Emitting a pure and elegant aura, she had slender and thick eyelashes adorning her eyes, carrying a few of her tears. At this moment, she looked pure and untainted. Whi chapter made people fearful of blaspheming about her. When Ziyun looked at her lady, and she noticed that, even under the sadness, her lady still had a beautiful temperament. With this, even she couldn't bear to continue chaptering. At the next moment, she remembered her master's command. Quickly, she prepared some reassuring words of comfort. Eldest miss, I beg you not to remain in the rain anymore. When wet, your body will be uncomfortable, and then what can be done if you incur a cold? Her anxious words held Mu chapter concern within it. I love him, Ziyun. I really am innocent. So why doesn't he believe me? Why does he want to break our engagement? As Feng Zhiyao spoke softly, she cried, her tears blending in with the rain. It was hard to tell if her face was covered with more tears or more rain. Eldest miss, as the saying goes, is there no fragrant grass under the heavens? Why should you suffer from unrequited love with that stalk of grass Qi Wang? When Ziyun spoke the two words, Qi Wang, she gnashed her teeth. If he had not been so unyielding in wanting the engagement to be broken, eldest miss would not have gone outside so early in the morning to think, subsequently getting wet from the rain. Ziyun, it's just that I am unable to do this. Looking into the rain, Whi chapter was becoming increasingly heavy. Feng Zhiyao shouted, I really love him. When I first saw him, I went crazy with love. At that time, I was only 12. Eldest miss, don't be like this. Let us return to the room. Your body has always been quite weak. You shouldn't be out in the rain. Since Ziyun and Feng Zhiyao grew up together, they were like sisters. Eldest miss, Feng Zhiyao's eyes flashed as she recalled the times she spent talking gently with the Prince of Qi. She had tried her best to forget. However, her mind uncontrollably thought of these scenes. At this moment, the rain became heavier and heavier, accompanied by the loud roars of thunder. The sky turned darker very soon. Dark clouds were everywhere. The sounds of thunder came out, one after another, while lighting illuminated the sky. The wind was extremely strong, making tree branches snap. In just an instant, the rain became even heavier. Within just a short period of time, the sky resembled a humongous waterfall. A gust of wind blew by, causing the waterfall like rain to be blown off course as though it was like smoke, fog, or even dust. Break the engagement. Ha ha ha. Feng Zhiyao faced the intense rain as she cried loudly, laughing and crying all the while, like she was completely insane, especially when she desperately began bashing her head. Eldest miss, don't hit yourself. Ziyun cried to the heavens as she grabbed at Feng Zhiyao. Come, quickly report this matter to the master. Very soon, Prime Minister Feng Wu frantically arrived. Yaoer, don't hit your head. Ziyun Yatu, Su chapter a heavy rain. Hurry up and bring eldest miss into the house. Growling at the maid upon seeing that his eldest daughter had ran out so early in the morning and gotten soaked because of that muddle-headed Prince of Qi, Prime Minister Feng Wucai was furious. Why? Why? Yes, master. Looking at the master who was extremely angry, Ziyun quickly mustered all her strength to help the Dren-chaptered Feng Zhiyao into the house. Father, there is nothing wrong with your daughter. After venting like this, I feel Mu chapter better. Feng Zhiyao said expressionlessly after being forced to chapter change into a new dress. Looking at Feng Wucai's troubled expression, she immediately said this to make him feel relieved. However, about the pain she truly felt in her head, that only she would know. Yaoer, how dare that kid, Qi Wang, try to annul your engagement? Your father will let him remain his whole life as a mere prince of Qi. When Feng Wu remembered his daughter's heartbroken look, his heart felt extremely painful. This was his most beloved woman's daughter. Whenever Yaoer felt hurt, as a father, he too felt hurt. Father, your daughter feels better. You should go first since you are busy. Feng Zhiyao knew that her father, the Prime Minister Feng Wu, was actually extremely busy. As Su chapter, Using the handcure chapterif Ziyun passed to her, she wiped the tears off his face as she spoke gently. Yaoer, please don't think of it too much. Taking small lotus steps, she waved the piccolo in front of Feng Zhiyao, though it was unknown if this was done intentionally or not. Looking at Feng Zhiqiang, Ziyun felt a surge of anger. Seeing the Yatta standing closely behind Feng Zhiqiang made her become angrier. Right now, the eldest miss was feeling heartbroken over the fact that the Prince of Qi wanted to break the engagement between them, yet the two of them actually had the face to act arrogant. Feng Zhiqiang, this lady does not welcome you here. Feng Zhiyao spoke coldly. From the beginning, she had always been too lazy to pay attention to those Shu sisters of hers. It was especially so with this Feng Zhiqiang who has stolen her lover from her. Sister, what's the use of crying? If it wasn't for you being unchapter-assed, how could Qi Wang want to break the engagement with you? You know what I think. Qi Wang did not like your fake high and mighty attitude. See this? This is Piccolo Whi chapter Qi Wang sent me last night. All I said was that I liked this flute, yet he did not hesitate to send it to me. As Feng Zhiqiang spoke, she became even more and more prideful. Seeing the tears gather in Feng Zhiyao's eyes, she acted even more outrageously. In reality, the piccolo was something she had cozied up to borrow and play with for 2 days. Haha, he did not hesitate. When Feng Zhiyao heard her say the words, did not hesitate, the pain in heart became even more intense, and her heart shattered into pieces. Whi chapter fell upon the ground. How could Feng Zhiqiang know that the piccolo was something she had painstakingly carved, in the process, not resting for 3 whole days? This was done after she invested so much chapter effort. This was the evidence of her love to him. Yet, he was actually so cruel to her. Could it be that their past together was nothing but clouds in the wind? At that time, he had even held her hands, sincerely promising her, Yaoer, having you in this life, what more can a man want? Noticing the tears pouring down Feng Zhiyao's face, Feng Zhiqiang was satisfied to see the objective of her visit being met. With her personal yatu, she left smugly. Eldest miss, you shouldn't listen to the words of second miss. Her piccolo is probably a fake one. Seeing that Feng Zhiyao was extremely upset, Ziyun quickly spoke up. Ziyun, the piccolo in Feng Zhiqiang's hands was the one I gave to Qi Wang. The ornament butterfly on it was the one that I personally knotted. It's definitely the same. Feng Zhiyao closed her eyes, letting the tears flow profusely down her delicate white chapteriques. Her heart was filled with holes. Ziyun Gunyang, the ginger soup for eldest miss has been completed. From outside the door, the voice of Xiaohong Yatta sounded. Eldest miss, newbie will immediately bring it in. You should go and drink it. Ziyun what chaptered Feng Zhiyao worriedly. Ziyun, you don't have to worry. I won't do anything stupid, Feng Zhiyao spoke. After drinking the ginger soup, Feng Zhiyao suddenly looked extremely lonely. Ziyun, I'm tired. I wish to go and rest. You should retire first, ordered Feng Zhiyao. No matter what, Ziyun would never have expected that as soon as she closed the door, the sounds of a stool being kicked would come from eldest miss' room. Her brain immediately cycled through the possibilities. This was bad. Eldest miss definitely shouldn't be thinking of that. Worried, Ziyun once again pushed open the door. However, what greeted her was the sight of her lady who she loved like a sister, with a white-colored belt wrapped around her beautiful white neck. Eldest miss, don't. Come. Somebody come. Eldest miss has hung herself. Ziyun's legs became weak from fright as she screamed continuously. With tears falling from her eyes, she clutch-chaptered at Feng Zhiyao's legs. Mei Shi was only thinking about the handsome European male model she has gotten when she found herself in a coffin. She had only Su for only a while, so why was it that in just a blink of an eye, she ended up as some eldest miss lying in a coffin? How could the male model just disappear? Why is there white cloths everywhere, and why was she lying in a coffin? Ah, her neck was really painful. Heavens, what was with her beautiful neck? Just chaptering it lightly made it feel even more painful. Eldest miss, is it you? Ziyun cried out upon seeing that Feng Ziyun had revived. She had cried until her almond-shaped eyes were all red. What is this place? It is so noisy. No one is allowed to cry. Meishi shouted loudly, turning towards the crying servants as she sat up. Yaoer, you are alive? This is really great. My good daughter. Feng Wucai realized that his daughter had come back to life and ran forward, embracing Meishi tightly. Who? Who are you? Meishi was dumbfounded. She didn't recall seizing power of Yesha and becoming their eldest miss. Why is this beautiful girl calling her eldest miss? Apart from that, she was an orphan, with no father. Sigh. Who is this handsome old guy? Master. Eldest miss seems to have forgotten the past. Even newbie has been forgotten. Ziyun Yata's tear glands are really bountiful. Within moments, she began to cry. Yaoer, I am your father. Think about it. Do you remember me now? Noticing Meishi's dazed expression, Feng Wu began shouting agitatedly. Father? Huh, you are my father? Meishi simply couldn't wrap her mind around the matter. She was an assassin in the modern era and enjoys playing with handsome men. Why did she suddenly end up in this ancient place? Could it be that what had happened to her was exactly the same as in the stories, with her transmigrating? Yes, I am your father. Yaoer, because that kid Shi Wang wanted to break off your engagement, you couldn't get your thoughts out and hanged yourself. My beloved daughter, you have suffered. Upon remembering that the Prince of Qi's intentions of annulling the marriage, Feng Wu became enraged, tears flowing down his face. Well then, it was best to take things as they come. Meishi was a very carefree person, managing to quickly accept the fact that she had transmigrated. Meishi, who excelled at everything, just had one flaw, and that was that she was simply too lazy. After saying those few words to her father Feng, she fell asleep. Heavens, she managed to sleep in the coffin. Eldest miss, let newbie help you to the bed to sleep. Okay? Ziyun Yata looked at Feng Zhiyao with distress. Wiping away her tears, she thought to wake Feng Zhiyao up. No. In noise. Aloud, Feng Zhiyao found a more comfortable position before continuing to sleep. Ziyun couldn't help but feel that her lady had become Mu chapter more cuter. Could it be that being dead for a while would make a person Mu chapter more cuter? Well, since eldest miss has awakened, remove the white mantle. No one is to speak of eldest miss's death and subsequent revival to anyone. Those who leak this matter will have multiplied punishments as those stated in the rules. The amiable expression on Feng Wu's face was gone, and he snapped at the servants. Of course, master. Newbie will definitely obey. At that moment, everyone present resembled a flock of chaptericans pecking away on the ground as they nodded furiously. Very good. All of you retire. Ziyun Yatu, remain here and take care of the eldest miss. Feng Wu spoke. Thankfully, there had been no funeral, or else the situation would have been quite terrible. Of course, master. Newbie will wait for eldest miss to wake up. Ziyun turned to look at Feng Zhiyao, listening to her soft breaths. She admired the sweet smile on Feng Zhiyao's face. It was really great that eldest miss didn't die. Only then did Feng Wu turn to look at the coffin where his eldest daughter currently slept. A hint of worry appeared in his heart. Yaoer, Yaoer, I really hope you have forgotten all the past events. Meishi slept till the next morning, with the sun shining on her butt. The bright sunlight crept through the tiny slits in the paper window, pouring over her face, warming it up. Eldest miss, you are awake. That's so good. Ziyun smiled happily when she saw Feng Zhiyao awake. Little girl, who are you? Meishi used her slender fingers to pin Chapter Ziyun's chapterik, mocking her. Ow, eldest miss, did you really lose your memory? Even her chapter actor chapter-ranged? Eldest miss would never two-chapter her face. Sigh, it was you who gave me the name Ziyun. I really lost my memory. Maybe God didn't want to see me saddened to death over a man. Ziyun, could you tell me everything that happened since I was a chapter-old up till now? Meishi smiled as she took back her hand. The girl's skin was so squishy, two-chaptering it was so comfortable. Fortunately, she heard that the father of her body was talking about canceling the engagement. Combining with the marks on her neck, she deduced the original host had committed suicide over love. Sigh. This girl died a pitiful death. Is a man who doesn't love you worth giving your life for? Meishi snorted at this. Being an assassin who expertises in seduction, She doesn't believe in true love. Men are to be played with. She won't be taking any responsibilities after taking eating. Afterwards, Ziyun nodded her head before proceeding to explain to Feng Zhiyao all the minor and major details. Feng Zhiyao, eldest daughter of the Prime Minister, also known as the most beautiful girl. Just this information made Meishi feel satisfied. Being one of the 4 beauties of Yesha, her standards of beauty are quite high. Since she is the most beautiful girl, she shouldn't be too bad. What? Because she is not chapter-asked, the Prince of Qi wants to cancel their engagement? Damn it. Cancel it. Cancel it. Meishi doesn't even like him. Eldest miss? You are not angry? Ziyun was carefully talking about the cancellation of the engagement by the Prince of Qi. Seeing her master coolly playing with her waist-long hair, she felt curious. No, I am not angry. I have died once now. Getting angry over him? Huh. He isn't worth it. Meishi stood up and lightly jumped out of the coffin, giving a slight smile. Eldest miss, where are you going? Ziyun hurriedly exclaimed as her eldest miss hasn't washed up yet. I will be looking for father to discuss about the cancellation of the engagement. Meishi turned around giving a flirtatious laugh. Her face showed a very confident smile. But eldest miss, you have not washed up yet. Ziyun immediately chapter-raced up. Okay, sure. First wash up, chapter-range into some pretty clothes then go. Meishi agreed with Ziyun. She looked up at the fiery red sun, silently thinking in her heart, Feng Zhiyao, from now on I am you. Everyone you care about I will protect them on your behalf. Those who wronged you, I will take revenge for you. The Prince of Qi is a blockhead. Eldest miss is Su chapter of beauty, but he wants to cancel their engagement. If he isn't a blockhead, then what is he? Eldest miss, you are really beautiful, a dazed Ziyun said after a moment, giggling. Miss Ziyun, the Prince of Qi is here. The master made newbie come here to take eldest miss to the grand hall to meet the Prince of Qi. The butler's voice came from outside the door. Okay, got it. Ziyun looked worriedly at Feng Zhiyao. Will eldest miss go? You tell butler Feng that I will be there. Canceling the engagement at the bride's house. This man knows no shame. Feng Zhiyao closed her eyes and said those words with her lips. Butler Feng, eldest miss will be there soon. You tell master that first. Ziyun went to the door and slightly held it open to speak to the nervous butler. Eldest miss, Laonu will relay your message. Laonu will leave now. Bolter Feng respectfully bowed himself out. After some time, Ziyun saw Feng Zhiyao sitting firmly at the copper mirror, painting her brows, putting on lipstick, so she asked, Eldest miss, is she afraid to meet the Prince of Qi? Make him wait. Feng Zhiyao put on her makeup in a slow fashion. Immediately after she stopped talking, noises of footsteps were heard outside, and weapons were crossed, clashing and clanging. Seems like there are some assassins. Eldest miss, what to do? There are assassins in the manor. Ziyun's face heard the word assassin outside. Her timid guts had burst from the fright. Don't be scared. Let's go and see. Feng Zhiyao had a lazy smile, lazily yawned, and gave an assured answer. Eldest miss, there's an assassin outside, Ziyun thought. You aren't afraid of death, but I am. So she shook her head frantically. Suddenly the door is kicked open by a man in a ninja suit, holding a long sword, swiftly ran up to Feng Zhiyao's back. His left hand quickly brought the swinging sword up to her neck. If you want to live, don't shout, or you will die. The man in black had an arm with blot chapters of red. The sudden turn of events frightened the daylights out of Ziyun, and she fainted fashionably. Feng Zhiyao heard a sound like ice water. Her smile faded from her lips, and she coldly said, That's up to you if you have the capability to do so. If I have the capability? A playful glint flashed on the masked man's black eyes as soon as he heard that. However, on the next moment, ow, it hurts. The masked man looked painfully at Feng Zhiyao as she suddenly looked at him flirtingly. He was so chapter in pain that his face went green. Why, you are not a lady. Your grip is so tight. At the moment, Feng Zhiyao's slender hands went inside his pants towards his nether regions and squeezed his little brother. Do you want your, or do you want my life? She sneered as her lips curved into a seductive smile. You. Let go. The masked man didn't expect Feng Zhiyao to take away her facade of elegance and poise. and attack him so viciously, almost breaking his. I can let go, but you have to promise me you will owe me a favor. Then there won't be any problems with letting go. Feng Jiao loosened her hand, but continued to slide it up and down, not letting go, making his face switch chapter from green to white, quite an interesting sight. Hey, the masked man angrily said, but he is now at a disadvantage, without any chapterance of retaliation. He sighed. All these years of learning martial arts, countered by a girl in a boudoir. If this gets out, he won't be thinking of making it in this world. Neither put 4 nor put 5 will help you. Do you agree to my proposition or not? Think carefully. Do you want me to cover for you? Or do you want to have no chapter children? Think twice. HMPF. Feng Jiao gave him a cold look and used her free hand to close the door. Her lips curved up into a crafty little smile, giving the masked man shivers as he took a glimpse at her. This female is like a Shura from hell. Chapterus the former, cover for me. After it's over, I will owe you a favor. HBMF. He didn't have time to think. He was already hearing footsteps from a team of bodyguards, led by the Prince of Qi and Prime Minister Feng, coming towards Haidang Garden. Don't feel so unwilling. I agreed to save you because I felt that you have some use to me. You should be proud. It was a typical sentence that could anger a person to death. Feng Jiao's words made the masked man grind his teeth so hard that it could be heard. He of Su chapter high status was now being controlled by a female with Su chapter ease for the first time in his life, and his thing was being caressed by her slender fingers. His number 2 actually had a reaction and went up majestically, making him embarrassed, and he turned his face away, not daring to look at her. Hey, I say, masked dude, isn't your little brother a little too small? Feng Jiao caressed his private parts further, but didn't feel it was interesting enough, so she turned her face over to tease him. What? She dared to say that his thing was small in size. How can this be tolerated? He wanted to retort, but his mouth was covered by Feng Jiao. If you want to live, you better shut up. I will deal with those outside. Feeling the softness on his lips, there was a different look in his eyes for a while. This lady isn't like any girl kept within her boudoir, being so meticulous and calm in this kind situation. It seems he was mistaken with the upbringing in the Prime Minister's house. Feng Jiao has become more interesting. Yaoer, an assassin attacked earlier. Are you okay? Prime Minister Feng, whose full name is Feng Wucai, was standing outside the door, face filled with worry. Worried that the assassin was hiding in Feng Jiao's room and threatening her life. Yaoer, it's me. Why won't you open the door? The Prince of Qi, Xinyuan Haofei, feeling that the Prime Minister was on the edge, softly asked while standing outside with his arms folded behind his back. His gaze fell on the gentle and unyielding stalks of Haidang. His plan was to annul the engagement. However, his mother wants him to fight for the seat of Crown Prince. Therefore, he will need to marry Feng Jiao to obtain Prime Minister Feng's support. However, if he were to marry Feng Jiao, then where would Xiong'er go? She has already told him that if he marries Feng Jiao, she will marry someone else. This is so troublesome. Xinyuan Haofei peered at the door at Haidang Garden, but he saw no one coming out, so he asked, Prime Minister Feng, should we go into Chapterek? What if the assassin is in Yaoer's room? Won't she be in great danger? He came today to the Prime Minister's house to annul the engagement, but no one should know about it. Who is it that wants him dead? The king has many sons, and he is the 7th, other than his 4th brother Xinyuan Haohan and 9th brother Xinyuan Haoyu, who are not in good terms with him. There's the Crown Prince Xinyuan Haochapteran. The assassin this time doesn't seem to be from the triads. Might it be? Mother is right. Since the olden days, the imperial family is the most heartless of all families. Yaoer, do say something. Why aren't you speaking? Feng Wucai was very anxious about his daughter's safety and was about to push the door open when a voice as beautiful as a lark came from within Haidang Garden. Father, Your Highness, Yaoer was feeling tired and napped a bit just now. My place is all clear. No signs of assassins here. At this moment, Feng Jiao was deftly using her silk napkin to wrap up the wound on the masked man's arm. No one. That's impossible, thought Xinyuan Haofei. The assassin was heading towards the direction of Haidang Garden. No reason for him not to be inside. Especially the slight traces of blood on the ground. It should be the blood from his wounded arm. But who would it be? Could it be that the Prime Minister has gone neutral or chapterosen another side? Doesn't the Prince of Qi believe Yaoer? The Prime Minister coldly asked. On the account that Feng Zhiyao had exposed herself to rain and tried to hang herself over the annulment of the engagement, Feng Wucai's support for Xinyuan Haofei has dropped down to an all-time low. At this moment, Feng Wucai did not care to be polite to Xinyuan Haofei even though he is the Prince of Qi. No, I just want to see Yaoer. I need to explain some matters clearly. Xinyuan Haofei shook his head lightly and explained. Your Highness, no need for that. Please go. There are some people and some matters that are not what Yaoer wants to hear about anymore. He isn't really into entertaining Xinyuan Haofei. There is a more interesting business at hand. A prince coming to annul an engagement has no longer anything to do with her. Feng Zhiyao lifted her lips and bluntly said behind the door, Father, please show the Prince of Qi off personally. Yaoer has been feeling sad these few days and doesn't feel very well. Now that she has just sat up for not long, Yaoer wants to go back to sleep now. The lazy reply greatly angered Xinyuan Haofei, but he needed the Prime Minister's support. He has to keep this at the bottom of his heart and thought to himself, if one day he became emperor, he will eliminate the Feng family. Of course, Qiong'er is not included. Your Highness, this way? Feng Wucai had a glint of praise in his eyes as Feng Zhiyao said that, Yaoer has grown up. These words have forced the Prince of Qi to leave. Everyone knows that Yaoer is sad because of the prince. Okay then, Yaoer, I will come tomorrow to visit you. Xinyuan Haofei swung his big sleeve, and his pretty lips uncurled into a straight line. Leave, I will leave, this kind of fake girl. If she isn't the daughter of the Prime Minister by his wife, he wouldn't have been this nice to her. After everyone has left hiding garden, Feng Zhiyao stopped wrapping up the wound. She wiped a streak of tears of her crystal white face, and her hand movement involuntarily more stronger. Did you get wounded from trying to kill the Prince of Qi? Who are you? Feng Zhiyao was initially uninterested in knowing his identity, but thinking that this is the ancient times. If she is embroiled in a royal struggle, her dreams of sleeping with men and being a hibernating rice bug won't come true. I cannot tell you, the masked man exclaimed. His sunken black eyes showed surprise. Feng Zhiyao is not as simple as he thought. Nothing to say, eh? So, you want your little brother to shrink more? Feng Zhiyao was not stunned by his answer, like she expected it. She gracefully poured a cup of weak tea. The aroma dispersed into the air. She chapterically blew on the blue-green tea and gave a slight smile. However, her eyes showed coldness, making him shiver. Woman, what did you do to me? He clenchaptered his teeth in pain. At the moment Feng Zhiyao saw the masked man clenchaptering his teeth, she gave a beautiful smile, dimples showing, very elegant and with poise. It had a brisk disposition. Her skin was fair and soft, her expression laid back, her eyes flowing with mystery, filled with mischapterief and cuteness, making him stare at her smile and forget all about the pain in his manhood. Is it really painful? Feng Zhiyao's sweet voice sounded through his ears. Why you? What did you do to me? He looked at the noble girl who looked as weak as a feather disbelievingly. Have you heard of seduction arts? Feng Zhiyao bent her flexible waist and leaned towards him. Her red warm lips blew warm air at his ear. What? Seduction arts? What's that? He slowly raised his head and saw that he was using her beautiful eyes to stare at his manhood. His eyes froze and his mouth curved up. The next moment, he suddenly stretch-chaptered out his long arms and embraced her. What are seduction arts? He became curious and asked aloud. The highest form of hypnotism. It can make men mesmerized with the caster. You are under my spell now. Feng Zhiyao undid her clothes and showed her shoulders, her skin smooth like butter, radiant as glitter, clear as a lotus flower just out of water, bright as a chapter-arming poppy. Her lips had a smile filled with fatal poison. Feng Zhiyao, that's underhanded of you. He didn't expect Feng Zhiyao to be not the rumored graceful young lady. He never felt so wrong in his life. Facing his cold accusation, Feng Zhiyao lightly smiled. She was indeed underhanded, being an assassin. If she wasn't underhanded, she would have been killed by others. Continue to curse if you want to continue being in pain. However, I am sleepy. I will take care of you after I wake up. Feng Jiao was tired of arguing with him. She ungracefully gave a yawn and laid down on her bed, then lazily slept snoring. This made him very despondent. Does this woman know that her sleeping position is very alluring? She made his almost lost little brother go up in excitement, and after seeing her bewitching half-naked body and breasts, her flowery sleeping beauty, he found out that he really had the potential to be a wolf. She lied down there silently and was still breathlessly beautiful. Really number one. He finally lost his self-control. He stretched his long fingers and caressed her face, savoring the feeling on his finger pulp, sinking as though freshly melted snow, pearl beads falling on a plate. All kinds of sensations were transmitted to his fingertips. His mind went blank in a split second, as though his soul had left his body with a jolt of electricity. Disturbing the sleep of others. That's very rude of you. Feng Jiao suddenly opened her eyes, raised her eyebrows, her eyes showing coldness. You are ready to tell me who you are? Her tone sounded more narrative than question. Now isn't the time. I will tell you who I am in the future. Have this jade Qilin. The time we meet again will be the time I return your favor. He gave a sigh. If he missed this quick and unique girl, he would probably regret it. He should probably make a reservation first. He then brought out a rectangular Qilin made of white jade from his clothes. It had beautiful craftsmanship, looked very chapter alive, and the jade came from the Kunlun Mountains. They were the best of the best. This jade is very good. Feng Jiao lifted her brows and gave a smile. This man seems quite rechapter and quite big-handed. However, this jade is nice to play with, but is useless. It cannot make beautiful men out of thin air. Not interesting. But I don't want it. Feng Jiao's rejection made him confused. Why? He found that after interacting with Feng Jiao, kind of started to make him stupid. It's useless to me. You would be better off giving me beautiful men. Feng Jiao yawned as she spoke. Sigh. I was nearly asleep and he woke me up. What? Give beautiful men? His jaw dropped with surprise as Feng Jiao finished her sentence. His mouth was so big that it could fit an egg inside. Okay, you can take back your jade Qilin. Anyway, you just remember you owe me a favor. Feng Jiao shoved the jade Qilin back into his chapterist, molesting him in the process, using her slender hands to go down his thin shirt, groping his abs. Goosebumps went up on all areas she too chaptered, and the feeling converged at his heart, making it thump. You are really a demon. Feng Jiao, why don't I just give myself to you? His manhood didn't hurt anymore. He don't mind having her now. Anyway, she has successfully aroused him. How is he going to let go? You? You don't even dare to tell me who you are? Anyways, your face is covered up. Why should I believe you? Who knows if it is because you are too ugly that you need a rag to cover your face. Feng Jiao's face had a seductive smile while she felt around his tense body. This man is too troublesome. She is too lazy. Tangling up with him uses too chapter thinking. Feng Jiao, I will let you go this time. But next time you won't be so lucky. Do not ever use seduction arts on other men. His tone was awkwardly reminding her, but how could she pay attention to his words? Forget it. I am no longer interested in who you are. If you still want to give me the jade Qilin, then I will take it. Okay then, you may go. Just remember your promise. You owe me a favor. Feng Jiao stunned as she heard it, and caught the jade Qilin, playing with it like she never heard it. Feng Jiao, I will remember you. Remember your person. The Prince of Qi should have left the manor. For your safety, you may stay here for up to an hour. But I am lazy. You may do as you please. I am going back to sleep. Feng Jiao lazily gave a yawn, stretched her body, and went back to sleep. Seeing all these made his lips twitch. This noble girl is too lazy. He hasn't said mu chapter, and she went back to sleep. He can't possibly what chapter her sleep, else he will turn into a wolf and pounce on her. Surely his manhood will be broken then. Whatever, there are many days ahead. Let's think of how to leave the Prime Minister's manor. After thinking like that, he looked at Feng Jiao deeply and held his long sword carefully, opening the door and leave. Except that until now, the fainted Ziyun has not even wake up. Seems like she was deeply shocked. The sun was setting and the evening rays were coloring the limitless skyline when Feng Zhiyao decided to slowly get up. Ziyun, get up quick. Still no reaction. It can't be that she was frightened to death? Why is there no movement? She is still breathing. Ziyun, the assassin is back. Feng Zhiyao rolled her eyes and bent over to whisper at Ziyun's ear. Where? Where? Eldest miss, we have to find a place to hide. Ziyun jumped up at her words, amusing Feng Zhiyao. I was just bluffing you. The assassin saw that he couldn't hurt me, so he left. Feng Zhiyao laughed as she beckoned Ziyun to sit down. Oh, eldest miss, are you all right? Ziyun scanned Feng Zhiyao from head to toe carefully. I am okay, still pretty fine. Feng Zhiyao played with the jade qilin the masked man gave her earlier as she spoke with Ziyun. The jade qilin was crystal clear, white without a fault, delicate and shiny, smooth like wax, soft as water. It's a good quality jade. She played with it admiringly. Eldest miss, where did this jade qilin come from? Ziyun was curious. Ziyun, you ask too many questions. Feng Zhiyao lazily gave a reply, indicating that she won't be answering the question. Sorry, eldest miss, newbie is wrong. Please don't send newbie away. Ziyun thought that Feng Zhiyao's sudden turn of tone meant that she was going to be sent away. Ziyun, get up. Don't simply grovel before me. I didn't say I was going to send you away. Okay, prepare my dinner now, and tell my father I won't be going to Hua Hall to eat. I will just eat food from my own kit chapter in today. Feng Zhiyao doesn't want to face Prime Minister Feng and his concubines. She is Mu chapter happier eating by herself. After her dinner, Feng Zhiyao found a book on the geographical annals of the world she is in now. The continent she is on now is called Qingxian continent. There are 18 nations on this continent. Her nation is the rechapterous nation on the continent, Nanshao. After it by order are Hanyi, Bailon, Shiliang. The rest are small states. Hanyi is rechapter in mines. The people are living in peace and harmony. Bailon people are nomads on the steppe. They are fighters by nature, but they aren't as rechapter as Hanyi, because they are bordered with Nanshao. Some nomads pillage border towns at times. Shiliang is a maritime nation. Its people fish as a living. Neighboring it is the Liuqiu Sea. They usually use the sea fish caught for trading with Nanshao, therefore they are quite prosperous too. With 4 large nations countering each chapter other, there were no wars for the last 30 years. Thank goodness, it is a peaceful era. Feng Zhiyao talked to herself and closed up the book. During the next few days, maybe it is because of the wet weather, the Prince of Qi never came to the manor to see Feng Zhiyao. Feng Zhiyao was happy with the peace and quiet. She stayed inside hiding garden and slept all day. Until the 4th day, the 5th day of the 7th month of the 40th year of Jinglong of Nanshao. Eldest miss, don't keep sleeping. Shouldn't you go out to get some fresh air? Ziyun couldn't bear to see it. Her eldest miss used to bring her out on the streets every few days. Now Ziyun felt that mold was growing on her in hiding garden. Ziyun, it is you who wants to go out and play, right? Feng Zhiyao raised her half-closed eyes and curved her lips, teasing her maid. Eldest miss, newbie. Newbie wants to go out and play. She does not lie to her master. Well then, it's time to go out and eat. Feng Zhiyao felt that her body has recovered enough in hiding garden. It's time to find a man to have a one-night stand. Eldest miss, the closet is open. WHI chapter 1 do you want to wear? Ziyun gleefully opened the closet and asked, why is it all white? Feng Zhiyao gave a frown. White represents purity. Her beauty is the representation of demons. Purity doesn't suit her. Eldest miss, you always said that white suits your fresh temperament the best. Ziyun smiled as she explained. Okay, then give me the one with the shortest hem. Feng Zhiyao randomly pointed at one dress. She can walk faster with a shorter dress. At least she won't trip over. Feng Zhiyao chapter-arranged into a moon-white yarn dress with a silver-lined hiding flower, and sat on a horse carriage specially for female members of the Prime Minister's house. Blue skies, white clouds floating, light winds breezing. The weather of the 7th month at the capital Xianying is too hot, but today is the market gathering of Xuanwu Street. Of course the place would be lively. With the giant crowds, all the shops value the day of the market very Mu chapter. If they shout loudly enough, they might be able to sell out goods that they have accumulated over the week or even the month. At Songha Restaurant, the place where all the noble young men and women in the capital like to gather, has the most people, especially on a day like this. All seats were filled. The window in the beautifully decorated private room at the second floor was wide open. You could see the whole scene on Xuanwu Street. At the round table sat 5 handsome, evenly matte-chaptered young men. The first from the left is the 7th son of the emperor, the Prince of Qi, Xinyuan Haofei. He wore a khaki-colored silk shirt. His skin showed a healthy brown color. His features on his handsome face are very sharp. It had clear eyes, an attractive expression, his beautiful lips raised into a nice curve. His whole body radiated grace and nobility. Except that his face had a weary look. "Your Highness, are you miserable because of a girl?" The speaker was a young man sitting across him. When Xing Yuan, grandson of the patriarch chapter of the number 1 family in Nanshao, he wore a white outfit and had a lazy smile, filled with tease. "Your Highness, my cousin Xiong'er said that she hasn't seen you for days. Have you chapter-arranged your mind?" The one speaking calmly and leaning against the window looking at the scenery was the young master of Jitian Fortress, Su Mayan. He wore a light blue silk shirt, very handsome. "My love for Xiong'er will not chapter-arrange. It is just that the annulment of my engagement with Feng Zhiyao is not very smooth." His mother once suggested to the emperor his father to let Feng Zhiyao and Feng Zhiqiang be married to the prince at the same time, as to obtain the power of both the prime minister and Jitian Fortress. However, Xinyuan Haofei thought about Feng Zhiqiang, saying that she does not want to be married to him together with Feng Zhiyao. This made him very torn. Isn't that Feng Zhiyao's carriage?" Su Mayan scornfully looked down at the carriage sporting the emblem of the Feng family, and Feng Zhiyao loves the pompous style. Therefore he guessed that the one in the carriage is most likely to be Feng Zhiyao. "Your Highness, it is your fiancée's carriage. Maybe she knows that you are eating with us here?" When Xing Yuan had a gloating tone, he elegantly played with the beautifully carved jade cup in his hands, his white slender fingers rubbing around the edges of the cup. Who in Xianying doesn't know that the daughter of the prime minister likes the Prince of Qi? Wherever the prince is, Feng Zhiyao will be there. "Your Highness gave an unchapter-ass name to Feng Zhiyao. Would she still have thoughts for you?" The speaker is Beitang Ziqian, who was at the moment playing chapteress against the patriarch chapter of the 2nd-ranked clan. Situyuele. He wore a long green robe, had a tall body, and beautiful features, handsome and impeccable. This man is the patriarch chapter of the 3rd-ranked clan. He had a frank personality, and he speaks very directly. He straightforwardly pointed out the fault of the Prince of Qi, but he was good friends with the Prince of Qi. Therefore the Prince of Qi and his friends were used to his straightforwardness. Situyuele has been engaged to the Prince of Qi's sister Princess Lingxi even before birth. It seems that by the spring of next year, he would have to honor the engagement with Princess Lingxi and marry her. "Ziqian, can you not be so straightforward every time?" Xinyuan Haofei creased his eyebrows upon hearing that. If it wasn't for the long friendship that they had, he really wanted to beat him to death, but he wanted that seat a lot, so he must behave himself and continue to receive help from them. He had an impulse at that moment to just strangle Beitang Ziqian. Ziqian, why do you need to bring that up? My dear future brother-in-law, she is the most beautiful girl, and you just accused her of being unchapter-assed. That is very cruel of you." Situyuele, who was clad in orange, gave a sigh. "You didn't like the girl. Why do you have to spoil her name? Future brother-in-law, and you guys, this idea came from you all at the start. Don't try to dump your chapter amber pots on me one by one. I am very innocent." Xinyuan Haofei looked at his friends, and his beautiful lips twitch-chaptered, giving a cold snort. He only asked them of how to let him break the engagement successfully, and at the same time not let the prime minister find fault in him, and they gave the idea of making the girl on chapter-ats. "Actually, future brother-in-law, did you, or did you not chapter Feng Zhiyao?" Situyuele had a face filled with suggestiveness. "I only sent someone to drug her. I am not that kind of underhanded person. She is still a virgin." Xinyuan Haofei gave a weak smile and spoke as a matter of factly. "Wait, look, isn't that Feng Zhiyao coming down from the carriage? Why does she seem like she is chapter-arranged?" Su Mayan looked at the person who came out of the horse carriage and couldn't help but stare. Feng Zhiyao wore a white flowing butterfly veil skirt. Her large cardigan was embroidered with pink flower patterns. On her arms was a 1 zhang long cotton gauze thin silk satin. Her dress pleats that flowed with the wind were embroidered with silver-colored haidangs on it, and held on with a white belt on her thin waist. Her cute and attractive shoulder bones were given the right amount of exposure. Her silky smooth hair were laid loosely behind her back, laced together at the end using 3 hairpins set with crystal beads, lightly circling her black as ink hair, leaving 2 clumps of hair like ink-black seaweeds, soft and smooth, shaking as she took her steps. Her snow-like wrists had 2 jade bracelets. When she held her hands up, they click and resonate with each other to make a beautiful sound. Her delicate white hands held a silk handkerchief chapterif tightly. The light pink handkerchief chapterif was embroidered with sakura petals. On her feet were a pair of emerald-colored gold-threaded shoes. They may seem to be without decorations, but when you look closely, the white and blue lines make up 2 beautiful irises. At this moment, Feng Zhiyao's beautiful eyes turned, graceful and elegant. She smiled lightly, very attractive and seductive. It wasn't when Xing Yuan's first time seeing Feng Zhiyao, but for the Feng Zhiyao who would smile at him so seductively, this is the first time. As expected, she is a timeless beauty, that aura that couldn't be neglected emitted from her whole body, that beauty that cannot be found in the mortal realm, that eyes deep as a water spring. The curve of her slightly arcing lips made when Xing Yuan, who was used to seeing beauties, gasp in awe. He sighed in his heart. There is Su chapter a beauty on this earth. The pearl that the Prince of Qi doesn't want. Can he take it? Your Highness, it seems that Feng Zhiyao has chapter arranged. She is so beautiful that nothing can compare. That last sentence, when Xing Yuan did not let it leave his mouth, it is unclear whether it was because he wanted to keep her to himself, or saying it out will make him a laughing stock. Anyways, his sword-like eyebrows creased a bit. No matter how she chapter ranges, she is still the Feng Zhiyao who chapter races relentlessly after our prince. Upon finishing his sentence, Beitang Ziqian looked towards the direction when Xing was looking. This lady who is smiling seductively at me, how can she be that poised Feng Zhiyao? No, my eyes must be seeing things. How could a learned young lady smile like that of a prostitute, so extraordinary that everyone wanted to see again and again, making them a chapter in their heart? What? Beitang Ziqian just ended his sentence and Situ Yuele became curious, so he crossed his arms behind his back and stood at the window, his sight laid on Feng Zhiyao who was smiling and looking up at them. She is really Feng Zhiyao? This is Su chapter a big chapter range. You should know that the Feng Zhiyao of the past will stick herself to the Prince of Qi. Towards his friends, she would nod at the most, and won't ever smile at them. Situ Yuele won't know that in the future, because of Feng Zhiyao, he would become Princess Lingxi's unfaithful, heartless man. Of course, this is a story for later. Xinyuan Haofei heard them saying Feng Zhiyao has chapter arranged, so he became curious. When he saw her making that kind of face at his handsome face turned black for the first time. This woman is so shameless. She was actually making faces at men on the streets. He couldn't figure out what was wrong with him. Seeing Feng Zhiyao making faces at other men, especially his best friends. In his heart, he felt as bad as having swallowed a fly. He wanted to vomit but couldn't. Feng Zhiyao, who was walking briskly, looked up and saw 5 beautiful men, with either surprise or wonder or disdain looking at her. She felt Mu chapter happier. Today is Su chapter a lucky day. There are so many beautiful men. WH chapter 1 should she kidnap and take to an end to XXO for a while? Eldest miss, they are all friends of the Prince of Qi. Gosh, that terrible prince is there too. Mei Shi doesn't know them, but being Feng Zhiyao's personal maid Ziyun is very familiar with them. So she reminded her in a whisper. The Prince of Qi? Ziyun, did I hear wrong? You just mentioned the Prince of Qi. That Prince of Qi that wants to annul our wedding engagement? Feng Zhiyao apparently thought that she heard wrong. Ziyun remembered that Feng Zhiyao has forgotten everything about the past and introduced to her the 5 men who were standing by the window. Ziyun, when I was engaged to the Prince of Qi, were there any tokens? If there are any, she can just give him back at this meeting. Yes, there is. The pair of bracelets that you are wearing is the token. It was when the Prince of Qi was in love with you. The token of love that he gave to you. Ziyun gave a sigh. Now eldest miss has forgotten about the past. That's good. At least she won't be heartbroken over a bastard of the Prince of Qi becoming frail and forlorn. Let's go, Ziyun. We will go upstairs to meet him. I will personally return these bracelets to him. Anyway, he has not come to break the engagement. She wants to break it. Since it is like this, instead of chapterising a date, why not just do it? Let's finish this matter of annulling the engagement. With the amount of pampering her father gives her, he won't be objecting. Meishi cleared her mind, looked down at the glistening, crystal-clear jade bracelets and smirked, thinking that it was a good chapterance to remove this burden, giving her the life of playing with beautiful men as she has been doing in her past life. Hey there, elder sis, how are you free today? Are you here to eat at Songha restaurant? Two beautifully dressed women stepped out of a horse carriage from the other side. The one speaking mockingly was the second miss of the Feng family, Feng Zhiqiang. The other beautifully dressed lady was the sister of the Prince of Qi, Xinyuan Lingxi. Your Highness, the two women who make you bewildered are here now. Ho ho ho. Beiteng Ziqian rolled his sleeves up and sat down happily. Finally, there is going to be a nice show going on. Losing chapterous pieces to Situ Yuele made him quite depressed. Finally, a nice act is coming on. Of course, the clouds surrounding his heart cleared up. Princess Lingxi is quite clingy to Yue. Su Mayan smiled and teased Situ Yuele. Situ Yuele smiled silently, but his eyes sank and showed a shimmer of disgust. If it wasn't the engagement determined by their parents, he won't agree to marry the uppity, pretentious princess. But his father was right. If the Situ family wasn't a royal mare chapterant, then their status as the second clan would be unstable, and they will be replaced by other clans. Xiao greets the Prince of Qi, young Master Su, Gongzi 1, 2 patriarch chapters. Feng Xiao walked into the room, lightly brushing them one by one as she walked past, stepping lightly and mincingly, graceful and willowy. Her expression was indifferent and alienating. She doesn't pay Mu chapter attention to them. However, this is the vicious feudal society, with rigid hierarchy, so she has to pay her respects to them. In Nanxiao, the most powerful are the three great clans, 2 manors, 1 fort, that's why. As the daughter of the Prime Minister Feng Zhiao bowed to them. Thank you, Yaoearth 12. Are you here because you miss me? Xinyuan Haofei thought of the words his mother gave him while pulling his ear, making him cozy up to the Prime Minister. That is why Xinyuan Haofei is acting like a Tinder Valentine. Catfight, come on. All for a stupid prince. 11. Young man of noble birth. I decided to leave it untranslated because I really can't come up with a better word. 12. OT is, Yaoer is polite, just a way of saying. Feng Zhiao smiled lightly. I am here to eat and discuss something with your highness at the same time. As Xinyuan Haofei looked at her, Feng Zhiao looked at him from the corner of her eye. Xinyuan Haofei wore a lust-colored silk shirt, tied by a jade belt. His black hair flowed like a waterfall, fixed by a white tallow jade hairpin. His face was filled with aura of nobility. However, the gentleness expressed on it made Feng Zhiao feel that he was being pretentious. A tough Feng Zhiao did not have a good impression of Xinyuan Haofei, but objectively speaking, this man is of royal blood. Quite a fine piece himself. He has good looks. It can be said he was handsome with no rival. Feng Zhiqiang came from behind and saw her sweetheart Xinyuan Haofei's gaze fixed on Feng Zhiao. She immediately swung her tree branch after thin waist, delicately and attractively walked over, and spoke with a sweet voice, how gidge. She then rolled her eyes at Feng Zhiao, her eyes unable to hide all sensations of envy, jealousy, and hate. Feng Zhiqiang looked at Feng Zhiao, whose beauty brought down cities and nations, who was elegant and well-mannered. A strong feeling of inferiority sprouted in her heart. Xinyuan Haofei saw his beloved gracefully arrive. At her cutesy call, he immediately broke into a bright smile. Chong'er, why are you and Lingxi always late? There was no sign of reprimandation in his voice, only his extreme pampering towards Feng Zhiqiang. Chigo. We passed by the makeup shop and saw some new products there. That's why we are late. Xinyuan Lingxi has been good friends with Feng Zhiqiang since they were little, so the two of them frequently shop together. However, after she came in, Xinyuan Lingxi's gaze has always been on Situ Yuele and won't leave him. Seeing that so many people were standing, even if they are not tired, she's tired. So she lazily chapterosed the chapter heir nearest to her. Feng Zhiao, that's my chapter heir. Su Mayan saw Feng Zhiao sitting on his seat and immediately shouted at her, disgust showing unconcealably on his eyes. It was just a small misunderstanding. When Su Mayan was little, he was quite naughty. Once he caught a frog and threw it into Feng Jiao's room. It frightened her to tears. The milkmaid reported the incident to Prime Minister Feng, and he gave Su Mayan a scolding. After that, Su Mayan returned to Jitian Fortress. He was beaten by his father until he bleeded. That was really painful. Therefore, every time Su Mayan saw Feng Jiao, he was always in an unhappy mood. Now that Feng Jiao is sitting on his seat, his face turned darker. Your chapter heir? Does it have your name on it? Feng Jiao laid at the round table, propping her chapterique on her palm, and looked at him with half-opened eyes, and calmly asked with a smile. This, Su Mayan was chapterless. Yup, Songha restaurant is property under the Situ clan. However, according to his knowledge, the chapter heir did not have its owner's name craved on it. What's this? If you cannot answer, it means that your name is not written on this chapter heir, and I can sit on this chapter heir without fear of conscience. Feng Jiao blinked her crystal-clear eyes at Su Mayan, gave a smirk, and lazily chapter-arranged her posture. Su Mayan was stunned by this. When did Feng Jiao become Su chapter a good talker? In the past, she was always distant and respectful to him. Jiejia, that is Biaoga's seat. How can you sit there? Feng Jiqiong saw her cousin Su Mayan being argued to a disadvantage, and angrily gave a reminder. Feng Jiqiong's mother is Su Mayan's father's younger sister. The two chapter-children had a close relationship. Su Mayan was an only chapter-child and always wanted a sister, but his mother's tummy did not live up to expectations. She did not give birth to any chapter-children after him. Therefore, Su Mayan's mother treated Feng Jiqiong as her own daughter. So the two cousins a relationship even better than most siblings. Mimi, your cousin did not stop me from sitting down, and neither did your beloved Prince of Qi stop your sister from sitting down. Therefore, you have just said a rubbish comment. What? She said she was saying rubbish? How gidge? You look at Feng Jiao. Feng Jiqiong angrily scowled at Feng Jiao with her fierce eyes. But Xinyuan Haofei was here. She did not want to break her facade of elegance. So she pulled at Xinyuan Haofei's sleeve and looked at him with red sad eyes and a puppy face to complain at him. Yaoer, Xiong'er is your sister. You shouldn't say Su chapter hurtful words. Xinyuan Haofei hurried to hug Feng Jiqiong and scolded Feng Jiao, discarding the gentleness he had earlier when he first saw her. Your Highness, this is our family matter. I don't think it has anything to do with you. Feng Jiao coldly looked at him and said, Yaoer, you are my fiancée. Xiong'er is your sister. How can this have nothing to do with me? Xinyuan Haofei was uncomfortable with her being so distant, even though Feng Jiao is not the girl he likes, but for the influence of the Prime Minister, he must marry his daughter. The most by then he will convince her to be his Ping wife instead. Like this, he can have the backing of both the Prime Minister and Jitian Fortress. Your Highness is forgetful. Didn't Your Highness earlier say to Yaoer? Your Highness said that Yaoer was unchapterized, and you wanted to cancel our engagement? Does the Prince of Qi eat his words? Feng Jiao's expression showed indifference. Eat my words? As the seventh son of the Emperor, his words are of course credible. Therefore, Xinyuan Haofei could only nod his head, but he immediately tried to explain. Yaoer, that might be a misunderstanding. Isn't the investigation still ongoing? That's why you are still my fiancé. How gidge? Feng Jiqiong became mad when she heard that. Damn it. Feng Jiao actually did not die, but she will continue to fight with her over her How gidge. This time, she will try to stop How gidge from being with Feng Jiao. How gidge can only be hers. Chiga's words are of course credible. Xinyuan Lingxi saw that Xinyuan Haofei was hesitating, and stupidly went on to answer for Xinyuan Haofei. Is that so? Feng Jiao saw that the fish has taken the bait, and immediately broke into a smile, but she purposely dragged her voice and retorted. Chiga, what do you think? Xinyuan Lingxi wanted her best friend to be her sister-in-law. Now that she has a chapterance, of course she wants to help Feng Jiqiong. Seeing a calm Feng Jiao, he suddenly felt flustered. This Feng Jiao was not as easy as she used to be. I know that your Highness likes my sister Feng Jiqiong, and the love is mutual. Everyone knows this. I don't want your Highness to make my sister suffer because of our engagement. Therefore, I gladly step out of this relationship. These bracelets were given to me by your Highness. They were tokens of our love. Now I return them to you in one piece. Feng Zhiyao took out the pair of bracelets from her wrists without hesitation and gave them to Xianyuan Haofei in front of everyone. Her voice was indifferent, her eyes just as emotionless, like they were strangers. Seeing Su Chapter a cool eldest miss, the surprise felt by Ziyun was not less than the others. Situ Yuele and everyone else were wide-eyed too. Wasn't Feng Zhiyao madly in love with the Prince of Qi? How did she manage to have thought through and canceling the engagement by herself? Yaoer, you are canceling our engagement? Are you not going to regret it? Xianyuan Haofei never thought that she would initiate the engagement cancellation and without giving him any face. You should know, everyone present here is an important friend to him. Yaoer only did something Your Highness wanted to do all along but kept wavering. Feng Zhiyao looked at Xianyuan Haofei sarcastically and said profoundly. Xianyuan Haofei was unsure whether to take the pair of bracelets or not. When he saw Feng Zhiyao, who took down the bracelets in a jiffy, his heart had some reluctance, his eyes had slight loss and sadness. Feng Zhiqiang, who wanted Xianyuan Haofei and Feng Zhiyao to break their engagement, winked at Xianyuan Lingxi, hinting her to take the bracelets on her palm. Xianyuan Lingxi took the hint from her best friend and immediately stepped forward to take it, and she said to Xianyuan Haofei, Chiga, stop being fussy. Miss Feng has agreed to cancel the engagement. Why are you feeling reluctant now? HMPF. What about me being reluctant? I can't ask for more. Xianyuan Haofei coldly and angrily said to save his face. Your Highness, this is my decision. It has nothing to do with my father. Feng Zhiyao thought for a while and continued, I will try my best to convince my father on this matter. You should be clear of my position in my father's heart. Feng Zhiqiang saw that her wish was going to come true, but seeing Xianyuan Haofei showing signs of hesitation, she coldly ridiculed Feng Zhiyao. Jejia, since you are canceling the engagement on your own initiative, if you can't be married off because of this, don't blame me and Hao Gij. Ho ho, that depends on if I want to be married. Okay, everybody, there's none of my business to be here anymore. You may continue on, Ziyun, let's go. Feng Zhiyao did not become angry upon hearing Feng Zhiqiang's taunting, but laughed instead. Her hair ornaments shook madly from her head movements. It looked so beautiful, seeing her. Everyone thought that a woman's smile could be so chapter-arming. Feng Zhiyao, please wait. Chiga still has something to return to you. Xianyuan Lingxi knows that Feng Zhiyao did gift Xianyuan Haofei a flute she made herself. So, after getting a hint from her friend, she made the statement knowingly. Oh, what is it? Yeah, right. Since it was an engagement, not only the man would give the woman a token, the woman would also give the man a token, right? So Feng Zhiyao stopped walking, gracefully turned around, and coldly asked. Feng Zhiyao, your piccolo. Chiga, shouldn't you return the piccolo Feng Zhiyao gave to you? Xianyuan Lingxi took the jade piccolo from Feng Zhiqiang and waved it in front of Feng Zhiyao's face. Lingxi, but Feng Zhiqiang drooped her eyes, but they showed a glint of satisfaction. She was pretending to be sad for Feng Zhiyao. During the annulment of an engagement, the return of engagement tokens are a must. Xianyuan Lingxi gave Feng Zhiqiang a leave-it-to-me expression. Lingxi, Xianyuan Haofei had some slight anger on his face. Everything about his sister was good. She was just very stubborn. He was not anxious. Why is she more impatient than him? Okay, thank you, Princess Lingxi. I will be taking this jade piccolo away. Feng Zhiyao drooped her eyes. This jade piccolo represents the former Feng Zhiyao's love for Xianyuan Haofei. She was tired of even looking at this heartless man. Therefore, upon taking the piccolo, she was going to leave the room immediately with Ziyun. Ah, are you not angry? Are you not sad? Are you? Xianyuan Lingxi just finished her sentence, and she got a cold stare from her brother Xianyuan Haofei. She was going to ask more, but she subconsciously shut her mouth. Since Princess Lingxi is so curious, I will answer you. I am very happy now, not at all the tiniest bit of sad. I have never been so happy before. Princess Lingxi, are you satisfied with my answer? Feng Zhiyao looked at Xianyuan Lingxi coldly, thinking to herself, this girl is an idiot. She was used by someone, and she didn't even know it. Feng Zhiyao looked at Situ Yuele, who was engaged to Xianyuan Lingxi. Ah, she gave him a lot of. After he marries Xianyuan Lingxi in the future, his days would be quite terrible. It is said that after marrying the imperial princess, As her husband, he may not have any concubines. Situ Yue did not understand why Feng Jiao was looking at him with pity in her eyes. He did not lose his parents, damn it. So Situ Yue gave Feng Jiao a black look. However, to the idiotic Xinyuan Lingxi, the stare meant that Feng Jiao was vying for her fiancé. Feng Jiao, don't look at him. Xinyuan Lingxi went over to Feng Jiao and said in a tone that only the two of them could hear. Don't, eh? Then you gotta be careful. I hate people who threaten me. Feng Jiao lightly stepped over, maintaining her distance with Xinyuan Lingxi, and lightly said under her breath, but Xinyuan Lingxi heard it clearly and felt goosebumps coming up all over her body. Slut that no one wants. As an imperial princess, this was Xinyuan Lingxi's first time cursing people. Clearly she was angered by Feng Jiao's attitude. Situ Yue creased his brows, although he did not like Xinyuan Lingxi, but she can't curse at Feng Jiao like that. She did not do anything bad to her. Except for Feng Jiqiang, who was gloating, everyone else thought that Xinyuan Lingxi was too mu chapter. As she teased Feng Jiao, who had just finished annulling her engagement, it doesn't feel right. Oh? You said that I am wanted by no one, right? As Feng Jiao heard the word slut that no one wanted, her slender fingers inside her flowing sleeves rolled into a fist. Damn it. She is a gold-class assassin under the internationally renowned assassin group Yesha. When was she ever insulted like that before? Feng Jiao looked at Xinyuan Lingxi without flinch-chaptering, and spoke with an unyielding yet soft voice, mixed with a bit of coldness. Are you sure you mean it? Feng Jiao, is not wanted by anyone? This is intolerable. But the other party is an imperial princess. If she kills her, it will bring trouble to the prime minister and his family. Maybe their whole clan will be executed. Never mind, let's just do something good. Isn't Xinyuan Lingxi in love with Situ Yue? Then she will make Situ Yue have a chapter range of heart. Punishing a person is not mercilessly killing him or her, but taking away the person or item that she cares the most about. Yes, you Feng Jiao are a woman who is unchapterassed and unwanted. Xinyuan Lingxi was given the cold eye by Feng Jiao, and all her pent-up anger was used to shout back. Lingxi, she is my sister. Although Feng Jiqiang was satisfied with the insults given by Xinyuan Lingxi towards Feng Jiao, but her beloved Xinyuan Haofei was present too, so she had to pretend to be graceful and well-mannered. Jiqiang, you are so good. Why do you have Su chapter a lousy sister? HMPF. Feng Jiao, let me tell you, you are a woman that Chiga doesn't want. WHI chapter man would dare to go after you. Ha ha ha, it might be that you will never be wanted in this life. Xinyuan Lingxi's insults became more and more ridiculous. Lingxi, shut up. Be more of a lady. Xinyuan Haofei thought that Xinyuan Lingxi was being too mu chapter, and his face darkened, opening his mouth to stop her. Your Highness, what chapter your sister properly? Don't let her bark like a dog everywhere. She really has no manners, so unladylike. Her eyes was extremely cold, her every word satirizing Xinyuan Lingxi as a barking dog. You, Feng Jiao. Xinyuan Haofei did not think that Feng Jiao was so good at talking, he could not even retort. Ziyun was also scared of Feng Jiao's guts. What is wrong with eldest miss? Didn't she always sucked it up whenever she met with this unruly princess? Chiga, see. I am being bullied by Feng Jiao. Slut. She is a total slut. I am going to rip her mouth up. Xinyuan Lingxi's pretty face was filled with anger. She is a princess of imperial status. She's just a daughter of the prime minister. How is she qualified to insult her like that, as a lowly dog of all animals? This is too angering. If she doesn't fix her up, Xinyuan Lingxi will reverse her name around. Xinyuan Lingxi thought that she had learnt quite a bit of martial arts. Before you know it, she raised up her slender legs ready to kick Feng Jiao, her fingers curved into a claw shape, ready to grab on Feng Jiao's hair. Feng Jiao pushed Ziyun to a safe corner and went up front herself, letting herself get kicked by Xinyuan Lingxi over to Situ Yuele's chapterist. Feng Jiao saw that her eschapterim had worked, although her thighs hurt, but the pain was nothing to her who constantly put her life on the line. Wu, it hurts. Situ Gongzi, your fiancé is very fierce. Wu. Feng Jiao hugged Situ Yue tightly. Her sweet-smelling head burrowed into Situ Yuele's muscular chapterist, Maybe she felt that her pitiful crying was not enough. She raised her tear-filled face, looking at a very confused Situ Yuele woefully. Situ Yuele bended his head down to see a teary, flowery face, and his heart melted. But he immediately remembered that she was here to annul her marriage with the Prince of Qi. How can he have skin contact with her? So he tried to push away Feng Zhiyao, but it was like she was very strong. The only thing he could do was frown. Lei Gij, how can you hug Feng Zhiyao like that? Put her down quick. Xinyuan Lingxi was dumbfounded. Situ Yuele actually let himself be hugged by Feng Zhiyao like that. At this moment, Xinyuan Lingxi felt that her world had collapsed. Eldest Miss, Ziyun thought that Feng Zhiyao would have fainted from the kick, and was worried not knowing what to do. However, after she saw her eldest miss giving her a everything is okay expression, she stunned. It's funny how eldest miss isn't in pain. Xinyuan Haofei's handsome face turned dark again after seeing sticking to Situ Yuele like an octopus. He gritted his teeth so hard sound came out. They just broke their engagement, and she has already went over to the arms of another man. When Xingyun was going to help Feng Zhiyao out, but he did not expect Feng Zhiyao to be so clever, his hand retracted back, and nonchalantly flicked his large sleeves. Su Mayan saw Feng Zhiyao hugging Situ Yuele for dear life, and his eyes showed disgust and disdain. Every bit of shock and surprise was blown off by this act of shamelessness. Beitang Ziqian looked at Situ Yuele blankly. He thought to himself, is brother Situ incapable of other expressions other than creasing his eyebrows? Feng Zhiqiang saw Xinyuan Lingxi looking like she was ready to cry, and immediately tried to persuade Feng Zhiyao. Jejia, Situ Gongzi is Princess Lingxi's fiancé. You can't do this, get down quick. The most depressed was Situ Yuele. He did not know what was with him. He could not get Feng Zhiyao off him no matter what, and Feng Zhiyao was like she had the strength of cows and tigers. The great strength is suffocating his handsome face into a red tomato. Especially he was being hugged by a sweet-smelling and squidgy girl. His nose could smell the special smell from her body, making him feel excited. After whiffing the smell for some time, his sun started to rise up. What should he do? All his friends are here. Especially that his fiancée is here too. Princess Lingxi, your Lei Gij likes hugging me ho-ho, right? Situ Gongzi? Feng Zhiyao's eyes were red, but there was no signs of her getting off Situ Yuele's body. Situ Gongzi, if you dare to disagree with me, I will show your swollen thing to everyone. Feng Zhiyao warned Situ Yuele in a whisper. Situ Yuele became angry upon hearing that. His beautiful brows creased further into a straight line. Are you going to obey me? If not, I will not let you go. I am already unchapterized anyway, but you will still need to marry that unruly princess. Feng Zhiyao's back blocked everyone's vision just right. She stretch-chaptered her finger and began to draw circles on Situ Yuele's chapteress seductively. Oh no, now Situ Yuele is feeling extremely aroused. Damn it. Is Feng Zhiyao born to this world to give him bad luck? Lei Gij? Ha, what a sweet pet name, answered Princess Lingxi quick. Say you like hugging me. Or else. Ha. This girl knows what to say at the right time. Upon hearing those words, Situ Yuele nodded his head reluctantly to save his face. This punishment normally comes upon rebels, conspirators against the emperor and the state, and usually involves the killing of hundreds of people. At times, females and chapter-children under certain ages 6 or 12 will be spared. So people have got to be wary of who they marry. 9. OT is writing one's name the other way around. Just a way to swear one will definitely do something. 10. OT is an idiom, meaning something is happening very fast. 11. OT is literally lick blood off knife blade, meaning the person described kills for a living. 12. OT is the cicada cries on an autumn branch chapter while drinking dew. It is a line from the poem by Wang Bo of the Tang Dynasty. Personally, I don't think this is used rightly, as the line is a metaphor to the poet's feelings while bidding his friend farewell. 13. OT is pear blossom in rain, used to describe beautiful girls who are crying. 14. OT is meaning that men and women are not supposed to have skin contact with EA chapter other, unless they are married to EA chapter other. 15. OT is people of the same generation would address EA chapter other by adding their surname or courtesy name to the word. I won't be delving into courtesy names for now. If you are interested, just Google It seems this novel doesn't have the concept of courtesy names. 16. OT is an idiom describing someone having exerted a lot of strength. Not only did Xinyuan Lingxi's fiancé Situ, Ula, not give her any face in front of so many people, he actually admitted that he likes Feng Jiao. How could she stand it? Lei Gij, tell me this isn't real. This isn't real. Xinyuan Lingxi's face was ready to burst into tears, like lily in the wind, weak and delicate, bringing out the want to protect in those who saw her. Feng Jiao, come down quick. A sinister glint appeared in his eyes as Xinyuan Haofei saw Feng Jiao doing Su Chapter a shameless act. Jejia, listen to Hao Gij, get down please. Feng Jiqiang hurriedly tried to persuade Feng Jiao. She saw Xinyuan Haofei's darkening face and was worried his wrath might be unleashed on the prime minister. Therefore she spoke up. Feng Jiqiang, that's your Hao Gij, not mine. Feng Jiao coldly looked at Feng Jiqiang. Lei Gij, she's a woman rejected by Chiga. It is unbecoming of you to hug her like that. Xinyuan Lingxi cried. Actually, deep down she wanted to pull Feng Jiao away and be the one to hug him like that in that position. Situ Gongzi, Princess Lingxi is right. Yaoer should go down after all. Since her motive has been a chapter reeved, and the show is over, she should make a graceful withdrawal. Feng Jiao finished her sentence and released her arms, ready to come down. But Situ Ula creased his pointy eyebrows and chaptered out to clutch chapter onto Feng Jiao's slender waist. Messing with me and getting away scot-free? In your dreams. He spoke, damn it. He was extremely aroused by her soft and fragrant body, but she seems quite unaffected. Just by shedding some tears she wants to leave this room, leaving him to suffer with an unbearable boner. This is so suffocating, don't you regret then? Since Situ Ula wants to play, how could she let it pass? Of course not. He confidently replied. Situ Ula won't regret anything. Lei Gij, you. Xinyuan Lingxi was infuriated to the point of being speechapterless. Situ Gongzi, I'm hungry, but suddenly I don't like the food at this restaurant. Can you carry me to another one to eat? Feng Jiao was satisfied seeing an agitated Xinyuan Lingxi gritting her teeth and wanting to cry. Okay. Situ Ula did not want to lose face in front of everyone, so he agreed. Ziyun, please return home with the driver. Situ Gongzi and I have some matters to discuss privately. I will think of ways to go home afterwards. Feng Jiao knew Situ Ula wouldn't let her off that easily, so she ordered her maid to go home first. Lingxi, this happened quite suddenly. I will explain to you later. The engagement between the Situ clan and the imperial family must happen. Situ Ula cannot disregard Xinyuan Lingxi 2 Mu chapter. Lei Gij, what is it that you can't talk about here? Xinyuan Lingxi jealously looked at Feng Jiao, who was freely playing with her hair. Other than the tear marks on her beautiful white face, was an expression of anger. Yeah, brother Situ, what is it you want to speak to Feng Jiao about? Why do you have to be so mysterious? When Xingyuan felt uncomfortable without a reason when Feng Jiao hugged Situ Ula, seeing that the two of them are going to somewhere else alone, he wanted to stop it. Yeah, Jejia, what do you want to discuss with Situ Gongzi? Feng Jiqiang subtly laughed and voiced her doubt, secretly feeling disdain and scorn. She was dumped by Hao Gij. Is it that she wants to climb onto another brand chapter? It's a small matter. Feng Jiao looked at Situ Ula meaningfully and lightly answered. A private matter. How could Situ Ula say the embarrassing situation that his little Ula was in? His unhappy and bright red face angrily looked at her. Do continue. I will explain when I am free. Situ Ula immediately grabbed onto Feng Jiao as he finished and used Qinggong to leap out of the window. Ziyun saw her mistress leaving and saw no need to stay, so she turned around and left. On the way home, she could not understand. When did her eldest miss have Su chapter a good relationship with Situ Gongzi? Lei Gij, don't you leave. Xinyuan Lingxi saw Situ Ula actually carrying Feng Jiao off, and burst into anger, stamping her foot, throwing all of her noble poise away out of the 9 clouds. Since Brother Situ has left, I should be going. My new store has some unfinished business needing to be taken care of. You may continue. Goodbye. Seeing Situ Ula is gone, When Xingyun got up and politely bade the Prince of Qi goodbye. Feng Zhiyao's chapter range is really great, haven't you all noticed? Beitang Ziqian recovered his senses from the shocking events. The chapter range in Feng Zhiyao was too great, wasn't it? Su Mayan got off his shock and gave a sound of agreement. Chiga, what should I do now? Xinyuan Lingxi frustratedly walked back and forth while she asked Xinyuan Haofei, who was standing with his hands crossed behind, being deep in thought. Lingxi, your engagement to him is like the nails on a board. You don't have to worry. Xinyuan Haofei flicked his sister's silky black hair and comforted her. On the way, Feng Zhiyao half closed her eyes, not shocked or frightened. Her breathing was steady, and at the end she fell asleep, making Situ Yuele, who was carrying her, hate her more. Feng Zhiyao, don't sleep. Situ Yuele felt his sexual urge has went down a lot, so he shouted imposingly at her. You can continue. Fly. Feng Zhiyao spoke while still half asleep. Speak? Why did you hug me on purpose just now? Don't think I don't know what you were thinking. Woman, get up now. Situ Yuele saw there was a grass pat chapter in front, and he was tired of carrying her, and was about to throw her on the ground. Who knew that she was so perceptive, nimbly holding onto Situ Yuele's neck. Trying to make me fall, you don't have that ability yet. Feng Zhiyao coldly spoke. Okay, I won't let you fall. Situ Yuele gently laid her on the luscious grass. His beautiful lips showed a sinister smile. He used his muscular body to lie on Feng Zhiyao's slender body, bending his head to kiss her neck. Goosebumps popped up on her sensitive skin like a feather had passed through it, and her breathing increased. Situ Gongzi, aren't you the future husband of the princess? Do you want to betray Princess Lingxi? Feng Zhiyao was enjoying his skillful massaging when she suddenly held his naughty hands to stop them. That's a grave accusation. Don't ever talk about this again. Also, you made me fire up just now. How could I ever let you go? Situ Yuele is not an easygoing person. He finally found a foxy lady who could strike up his little Yuele. How could he just let her go? Really? So even the patriarch chapter of the second clan is at my feet. Ho ho ho! Feng Zhiyao laughed heartily, showing all her graces, her fingers tracing the outlines of his hands, making Situ Yuele very enticed. Brother Situ, what are you doing? When Xingyuan came running after them using takshuang and was just behind. Seeing Feng Zhiyao laughing with Situ Yuele like a flower in the sun, his heart sank and wanted to just throw Situ Yuele into a dit chapter nearby. Situ Yuele was shocked when Xingyuan suddenly jumped down. He guessed that Xingyuan must have been following them for quite long. But why did he want to follow them? Why did Brother Wen follow us here? Situ Yuele was still lying on Feng Zhiyao, but how could Feng Zhiyao let him have the advantage? She exerted force and flipped around. Now she was on top of him instead, making Situ Yuele smack his lips, and when Xingyuan, who was the outsider, grit his teeth jealously. I'm just passing by. When Xingyuan lightly smiled, his face featured like the mountains on an ink painting, graceful and calm, with unparalleled beauty, elegant and refined. A man as beautiful as the jades of Kunlun Mountains. Feng Zhiyao looked and looked, her mouth uncontrollably watered. What a beautiful man! But under these circumstances, it is very hard for her to manage. Damn woman, she is lusting for that guy? And at that distance. Not sure what was wrong with Situ Yuele. When he saw saliva dripping from Feng Zhiyao at the sight of Wen Xingyuan, feelings of jealousy crept into his heart. Out of rage, in front of his best friend Wen Xingyuan, he stuck out his tongue and gave Feng Zhiyao a friend chapter kiss, licking away the saliva from the corner of her mouth. Oh gosh, how could this person want her saliva too? Suddenly, he bended down to kiss her lips. This kiss was mixed in with strong aggressiveness by Situ Yuele. At the current moment, he felt really good, especially looking at her watery lips. They are as sweet as the flesh of a freshly opened fruit. He instinctively gave a kiss. Situ Yuele, aren't you too mu chapter? When Xingyuan could not bear to what chapter anymore, his booming voice had a hint of anger. When Gongzi, this is a private matter between Situ Gongzi and me. Please do not meddle. Feng Zhiyao bluntly said as Situ Yuele stopped his mouth movements. Whoever is stopping her from hunting beautiful men is her enemy. Feng Jiao, Situ Yue is the future husband of the princess. Do you know of the dangers awaiting for you if you are together with him? When Xing Yuan saw his good intentions being rejected and continued to try to convince her, hoping she would listen. When Gongzi, WHI chapter I of yours, saw me being together with Situ Gongzi? Damn it, we just kissed a bit, so we should date? Fuck, what kind of logic is that? Feng Jiao pushed off Situ Yue from on top of her body upon hearing Wen Xingyuan's words. After she got up, she brushed off her messy hair and lazily gave a yawn. Situ Yue nearly fell from Feng Jiao's sudden push. Fortunately, he had a substantial level of kung fu and was able to stand steadily, but the expression on his handsome face was as sour as you can imagine. Damn it! Why did he feel that the taste of Feng Jiao's lips was so good? Almost like he was addicted to it. His sight was fixated on her bright red peachaptery lips. Brother one, do not take things out of context on whim. Situ Yue's urges were not satisfied, so his expression was quite dark. When Xing Yuan saw that Feng Jiao did not heed him, and his best friend Situ Yue was looking at him fiercely, he rubbed his nose with a sigh. Feng Jiao looked at them dispiritedly and turned to leave. Feng Jiao, our matter hasn't been settled yet. Situ Yue saw Feng Jiao going to leave and immediately ran over to block her. Situ Gongzi, I am bored with you now. Feng Jiao leaned over to his ear and loudly said under her breath, emphasizing on the word bored, while her fingers seized the opportunity to caress him. Situ Yue was really aroused by her advances. You could not blame him. Princess Lingxi held a tight grip on him, and therefore he has never even been to a brothel. Now that he has been too chaptered at his weak spot, how could he resist it? His thing immediately went up majestically. Of course, when Xing Yuan saw this scene, his beautiful white face turned bright red. You guys, when Xing Yuan could not bear to what chapter it any longer, he studied only Confucian books. Looking at the explicit scenes being performed in front of him, he felt his eyes were going to be infected. Therefore, he shouted at them angrily. These two are giving him great disregard. What about us? Feng Jiao gave another foxy look at Wen Xingyuan and kicked Situ Yue away and said to him, Oh, I am so forgetful. Your fiancée is the imperial princess. So if you want to quinchapter your lust, you should find her or some other girl. Feng Jiao said and covered her mouth as she laughed wickedly. She only got to second base and someone had came to disturb. Seems like she needs to put in a little effort to look for food elsewhere. Seeing Feng Jiao kicking Situ Yue, when Xing Yuan oddly felt better, even his smile was as warm as the spring wind. Feng Jiao, you. As a normal man, Situ Yue wished his urge would go away, but seeing that she is going to leave at second base made him feel quite pin up. What about me? Don't try to stop me again, or I will let you to never ever two chapter meet. Feng Jiao suddenly coldly scolded at him, her vision icy cold. She gave a look at his nether regions meaningfully while giving her warning. Situ Yue was born with a silver spoon. He had everything he wanted ever since he was a chapterild. Now that he was being played by a mere woman, he was really angry. Brother one, if you're still my friend, stop yapping. The subtle meaning under his words were, if you have nothing to do here, get out so that I can do my business. Feng Jiao saw Situ Yue overwhelmed by lust, so much chapter that his eyes were red, worrying Feng Jiao. This man's urges are not satisfied, and she needs to leave immediately, else she would be made to do that in the wilderness. It would displease her. In her previous life, everything she had with other guys, it was always in the poshest of hotels, or beautifully decorated presidential suites. Even the worst was a Simmons bed. Now, she does not want to be pushed down on this pat chapter of grass by a wolf. When Gongzi, take me away, looks like Situ Gongzi is going mad. Feng Jiao looked everywhere, except for flowers, trees, bridges, streams. There was a man as beautiful as jade. Of course she is going to chapterus the man. When Xing Yuan looked at Feng Jiao, who just ran into his arms like a rabbit, wide-eyed and open-jaw. Funny, why is Wen Gongzi in daze? She is a beauty that can bring nations and cities down, and now clut chaptering on his sleeves. How could he not have any reaction? Wen Gongzi. Feng Jiao saw that Situ Yue's face was growing darker by the minute, and hurriedly patted Wen Xingyuan's chapteriks. What? When Xingyuan saw a pile of rose-scented seaweed-shaped hair fall on his chapterist, while the owner of the hair looked at him with sorrowful eyes. Feng Jiao quickly chaptered her thighs, squeezing out a few drops of crocodile tears, obtaining Wen Xingyuan's pity. When Xingyuan was wishing for this, hearing her words made him secretly happy, and the force used to carry her small frame was increased, making her hips hurt a bit. What kind of man is this? Doesn't he know how to be delicate to a lady? Feng Jiao gave Wen Xingyuan a black look. However, he was in some sort of high, and in his eyes this beauty is looking at him lovingly, like a fresh spring of water, so he took it as flirting and accepted it happily. Wen Xingyuan, put down my woman immediately. Situ Yuele did not think that Feng Jiao would do this. She actually went into the arms of another man. When Feng Jiao heard Situ Yuele say my woman, she felt very uncomfortable. She does not belong to anybody. Only she will ever love herself in this life. All the beautiful men are just only sauces in her life. And so her attitude towards beautiful men is to play with them and not take responsibility. I'm not your woman. Situ Gongzi, stop spouting nonsense, or your tongue will be bitten off, then that would be very regretful. Feng Jiao immediately rejected him. Her foxy face had a glint of anger. This man is too narcissistic. Thank God she did not sleep with him, or else she would be chapter-raced by this man until the ends of the earth. At this moment she felt very lucky. You, how disrespectful. Situ Yuele being the patriarch chapter of the second-rank clan in Nanshao, no one has ever went against his wishes, and Feng Jiao has made history. I am not disrespectful. I am going to sleep. When Gongzi, please help me handle this. I will owe you one. Zzz. Maybe it was that Feng Jiao was too tired. After she finished talking, she actually went asleep. This raised Wen Xingyuan's eyebrows a bit. She said she is letting handle this, and she will owe him one? It seems that this deal is not bad. As an excellent businessman, he felt that he should make business with her. Feng Jiao. Situ Yuele saw that Feng Jiao really slept, and was sleeping in Wen Xingyuan's arms. It made him really furious. You could see the flames bursting out in his deep black eyes. This is really frustrating. He was intending to give that girl a lesson for setting him on fire. Now she is sleeping, and in the arms of another man. How dispiriting. Brother Situ, since she is asleep, that private matter of yours can wait till a next time. Now, I have to bring her back to the Prime Minister's. When Xing looked at the sleeping Feng Jiao, his expression filled with empathy, while he softly coaxed Situ Yuele. You may leave. But Feng Jiao must stay. Situ Yuele tried to hide the embarrassment in his pants and shouted at Wen Xingyuan furiously. Brother Situ, she's already asleep. Why do you still want to bother her? Wen Xingyuan's handsome brows looked like they had developed a layer of ice as he retorted with slight anger. Brother Wen, don't tell me that you are going to go against the Situ clan just for this woman? Seeing Wen Xingyuan carrying Feng Jiao away, Situ Yuele held his fist hard, so hard that you could hear his knuckles crack. Not really, I am just following someone's bidding. When Xingyuan did not turn around, he just wanted to carry Feng Jiao and walk in the direction of the Prime Minister's home. Brother One, you are too mu chapter. Don't blame me for not considering our brotherhood. Just as Situ Yuele finished his sentence, not earlier nor later, his golden jade bone fan flew towards Wen Xingyuan's arm. Wen Xingyuan was about to free his hand to block it, but unexpectedly Feng Jiao suddenly opened her eyes and chaptered out her fingers to chapter the fan like using chapter-up sticks. The two men were extremely surprised. How did Feng Jiao, who did not know a bit of kung fu, stop the fan so quickly? Seems like a really good thing. Since Situ Gongzi wants to gift me this fan, who am I to reject? Feng Jiao looked at the cover of the fan. It was a drawing of a bun chapter of peonies blossoming, and thought to herself, this Situ Yuele seemed to be quite dry, but he pretends to be a learned and well-mannered young man, making her twist the corners of her mouth. Feng Jiao, you didn't sleep just now? When Xingyuan saw her pushing his arms away, and a glint of disappointment came over his eyes, as he asked in surprise. I did sleep, but not that well. There were birds chapter-irping at my ear so I could barely sleep. Oh right, the matter I left you with, you are not done with it? Feng Jiao looked at the black-faced Situ Yuele and coldly spoke. The two of them looked at each other flabbergasted. She described them as birds? Situ Yue angrily looked at Feng Zhiyao, not a bit wanting to let her go. There seems to be a problem. When Xingyuan shook his head and rubbed his forehead while sighing. Situ Yue seemed to be caught on Feng Zhiyao, not letting go no matter what. Then forget it. That deal between me and you is off. I will finish this myself. Feng Zhiyao rolled her eyes at him. No wonder this guy hasn't been made clan patriarch chapter. The elders must have seen him as weak and indecisive. Upon hearing Feng Zhiyao say that, when Xingyuan's heart had chaptered a bit, he immediately gave a weak smile. That's fine. He treated as if he has done something good for her. Brother Situ, Feng Zhiyao, I will go off first then. You can continue on with your private matter. Seeing Situ Yuele's expression of wanting to kill him there, and that after they crossed sights, when Xingyuan decided to leave, if Feng Zhiyao couldn't handle this, he can come in later. Most importantly, he didn't want Feng Zhiyao to hate him. Yes, remember to get as far away as possible. Feng Zhiyao looked at Wen Xingyuan and smiled at him to only lazily give away a reminder. Most importantly is to deter him from disrupting her again. Of course. After that, Wen Xingyuan walked away, without any hesitation. Aya, when Gongzi's back actually looks quite cool. Feng Zhiyao's soft lips blossomed like flowers, her eyes filled with praise. Feng Zhiyao, are you treating me like I am dead? Do you have to stare at Wen Xingyuan for so long? Situ Yue saw that the nosy Wen Xingyuan was gone, and he was happy. However, Feng Zhiyao looking at Wen Xingyuan's back made it go dark again. Situ Gongzi, aren't you still standing there, alive? Feng Zhiyao rolled her eyes at the sky, and continued opening and closing the golden jade bone fan, and started to fan herself. Feng Zhiyao, return the fan to me. This fan is a treasure. The wind it fans is warm in winter and cool in summer. That is why Situ Yue wants to get it back. Not giving. Feng Zhiyao shook her head lightly. She was enjoying fanning herself. How could she return it now? If you don't give it back, it's fine, but let's continue with our business. Situ Yue is not someone to be taken lightly. Continue? But your number 2 seems to be soft now, are you? Able to? Feng Zhiyao covered her mouth to laugh. Her chapter-rhyming laugh was really melodious. You. Situ Yue heard her words and opened his eyes wide in surprise. She never spoke so daringly before. Isn't there something wrong? Me? What about me? You can't argue with me, but you don't have to give me Su chapter a weird look, right? Feng Zhiyao walked gracefully towards Situ Yue and spoke cutely. Or is it that you, Situ Yue, are weak in that part? And she proceeded to laugh heartily. Little fox, let me show you whether I am weak in that part. Situ Yue was clearly angered by her laughing. In an instant, he took off his orange silk shirt, showing a white underwear. What? Calling her a fox? Normally speaking, she had the capability of being a fox. However, coming from a man scolding her, it is a different story. Situ Yue carried Feng Zhiyao up princess style. It's quiet and uncrowded here. I don't mind having a. Feng Zhiyao heard that they were going to do it in clear water stream and thought, how is this to be done? She doesn't want this. She has requirements. It must be a big bed. Or else no way. Feng Zhiyao saw that the stream was getting nearer and nearer. She creased her eyebrows. Chapter arrange the place. I'm not doing it here. Little fox, I will be gentle on you. Situ Yue was only carrying her in his arms, but his heart was thumping madly. This was something he never experienced before. Before, the most he did was holding Xinyu on Lingxi's hand. Even then he didn't feel as nervous as this. Even though he acted this way, but as the future husband of the princess, he had a tight upbringing, and was still a virgin to this day. As he held Feng Zhiyao, his hands were trembling. He looked down smiling at the unhappy beauty, repeating the words, I will be gentle. Situ Yuele's whiter than even a lady's skin glistened under the sun. His long and slender body looked even more tall and handsome under the sun. His narrow, long eyes would occasionally put out jolts of electricity, leaving Feng Zhiyao in a slight daze, losing her sense of composure. Wait, she doesn't want to do it in a river stream. Situ Gongzi, can I make a deal with you? We can continue this some other day. You see the sun is almost setting. Feng Zhiyao held to the back of his neck and pointed to the west. Little fox, Are you scared of me? His breathing became more and more irregular, his hot breath blowing on her delicate white face, making her at chapter SC. Scared your head. Situule. You can bathe with the fishes by yourself. Feng Jiao was really enticed by him. But this stupid man chapteros the river stream to satisfy both their urges. This is too humiliating. So after this girl couldn't take it anymore, she lifted her foot and aimed it at his stomachapter. He did not expect her to kick him, and actually into the river. Feng Ziyueo. A shout as loud as a lion's roar rocked the sky. But only Feng Jiao's chapter-rhyming laugh could be heard on the surroundings. I know what my name is, you don't have to remind me again and again. Feng Jiao dusted her hands and picked up his orange silk shirt. It was actually scented with fragrance, and the cloth used is good. Should be worth quite a fortune. Too bad its owner has made her angry. Feng Jiao has decided in her heart she was going to sell the shirt to a pawn shop. You. Ugh. Poor Situ Yuele swallowed few gulps of water, chapter-roking him till his face was white. When Xingyuan, who was hiding afar, hugged his stomachapter, trying to suppress his laughter, and thought to himself, luckily he did not wrong Feng Jiao, that great aunt. Situ Yuele looked at Feng Jiao's back with an angry expression and shouted as he splashed around the water. When Xing, have you not what chaptered enough? Even though he couldn't swim, but that doesn't mean he didn't have his inner strength. He felt there was abnormal breathing in the surrounding and immediately shouted, when Xing, here. When Xingyuan stood up gracefully from a growth of grass near the river bank, after WHI chapter, he threw over a rattan brand chapter to a drowning Situ Yuele laughing. And so using the brand chapter, Situ Yuele exerted his feet on them, flying straight up. However, he was still wet when he aria chaptered the shore. Where's my clothes? Damn it, it must have been Feng Jiao who had taken them away. And so Situ Yuele's face became bright red with anger. Wait a while, I will go to the nearest tailor to buy you a new set. When Xing thought to himself that the relationship between the two of them was not bad and decided to help Situ Yuele. Actually, he thought that the scene of Situ Yuele crawling out of the river wet was quite comical, but he was always well-mannered and did not say it out loud. Okay, thanks a lot. HMPFH, this merciless girl. Situ Yuele could only hug himself, shivering in the wind. In his heart, he was cursing Feng Jiao for being cruel. Feng Jiao found that she had unknowingly lost her way. No thanks to that idiot Situ Yuele, bringing her out to Su chapter a far place, making her unable to recognize the way back to the Prime Minister's house. Seeing that the sky was getting darker and darker, and there is no one around these mountains, what was she supposed to do? Feng Jiao kept on trying to convince herself, there definitely must be someone. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. As night arrived, around her ears were only the sound of wind blowing and occasionally the cries of wild animals. Feng Jiao was really tired. She looked for a clean piece of rock and used her silk handkerchief chapterif to wipe it. Only then she sat down. So hungry, Feng Jiao heard the grumbling of her stomachapter and used her hands to hold it, looking at the sky displeasingly. Lady, please help. Suddenly a man's voice coarsely came from behind a rock. Feng Jiao thought that she was mistaken and did not bother it, so she continued thinking about her hunger. The man was quite persistent. He used his bloody hand to pull the hem of her skirt, crying for help as much chapter as he could, but his voice was slowly dying out. It's a wounded person? Feng Jiao turned back to look and said to herself, blood? She has seen a lot of it, therefore she wasn't scared. Hey, who are you? Why are you covered in blood? Feng Jiao said as she calmly bended down using her fingers to chapterek his breath. Thank God. He is still breathing. Thankfully he met her. He is in luck. Ow. Help. Me. That person slightly opened his eyes painfully and said, okay, sure, I can help you, but then you have to give me some kind of repayment to me. Feng Jiao agreed to help him, but upon hearing Feng Jiao's reply, the person had lost consciousness. I will treat as you have agreed. Let's see if he has anything of worth around him. Feng Jiao saw that he could not stand the pain and has fainted, so she had to look for any valuable stuff he has by herself. Yep, his looks are not bad. Too bad he has fainted. Sigh. Let's not have other thoughts. Looking for treasures is more important. Feng Jiao seer chaptered the man all around. Finally, she found a piece of jade with a firebird craved onto it in the layers of his shirt. Seems like ancient jade is very valuable. I will take this as a pawn. Feng Jiao played around with the jade, chapterecking it out. It was clear, shiny, and smooth. It could be considered a top-quality jade. Feng Jiao saw the sky was getting darker and darker, yet the stranger has not woken up. She used a rock to kill a bird, and used the person's fire starter to cook and eat it. Finally, she could not control her sleepiness and dozed off against the rock. The next morning, a sudden voice woke Feng Jiao up. Water! Water! Who dares wake me up? Feng Jiao lazily flipped around. Who knew she would fall off the rock and fell down facing up? The outdoors? A rural area? How was she here? Oh wait, she carefully thought back, and remembered she kicked Situule and stole his clothes. Then she got lost and saved an unknown man. Sigh. Got it, pretty boy, here's your water. Feng Jiao looked around. There is no river? Without a river, then she could take some blood from the half-eaten bird from last night. Anyway, he has shed a lot of blood. Drinking some blood can replenish his energy. The man drank the bird's blood to the last sip, his eyes still closed. Half an hour later, Feng Jiao saw him finally opening his eyes. What kind of eyes were those? Akin to glass or marble, filled with fire, making the heavens, earth, sun, and moon seem dim in comparison. Ah, seems like wiping his wounds with her silk handkerchief chapterif was not a waste. So handsome. A perfectly beautiful face, a straight and upright nose, small narrow eyes that curved up at the ends, lips filled with excess love, sexiness like a blooming sakura, showing a beauty almost like a demon's. This kind of beauty has already surpassed the definition of man or woman, the standards of the norm, making all life fall in love. Thank you for saving my life, miss. May I know your name? The man waved 2 fingers in front of her. Feng Jiao, what's yours? She stared blankly into his eyes, thinking to herself, what beautiful eyes, what a beautiful man. She couldn't help but to swallow her drool. Li Minshan, he chaptered his arms and crossed his legs to rest. What a Korean-sounding name. Feng Jiao said the words Li Minshan in her heart 3 times, and came to that conclusion. Shit, I didn't return home last night. Old man Feng must be so worried. Feng Jiao bit her lip and sighed, rubbing her wrists. Miss Feng, can you not mumble to yourself? Li Minshan had closed his eyes to rest. Hey. Li Minshan, it was I who saved your life. Look at my wrists. In order to get you water this morning, I cut myself, you know. Feng Jiao mustered her chapterik sulking. Actually, she got hurt while shooting rocks at birds. What? You didn't give me water to drink? Li Minshan opened his eyes to look at Feng Jiao's hand and was bewildered. Hey, see for yourself. Do you see any rivers or streams around you? Feng Jiao creased her brows. It was not easy for her. Thankfully, there was the blood of a bird to replace hers. Of course, she won't say the truth. No. Li Minshan found himself speech-chapterless and looked at Feng Jiao remorsefully. Miss, I'm sorry. It was the first time he ever apologized to a girl. That's why. I am your savior. Straighten your attitude and remember to treat me well. HMPFH. Feng Jiao thought of what to eat for breakfast as she spoke. Miss Feng, how about this? I will give you some cash. Why don't you find an inn down the mountain to eat later? Li Minshan looked at his wound and found it neatly chaptered up by Feng Jiao. For now, he just needs to regulate his qi for about a week and he can safely go home. That would be good, but I don't know the way down. Even though this was a small mountain, but Feng Jiao does not recognize the way. Walk straight in this direction. After a bamboo bridge, you would have Arya chaptered it. Here's 100 taels of silver. Li Minshan creased his brows and took out a banknote from within his sleeves. Okay then, I will take it. Oh right, here's a set of men's clothes, they are my brother's. Your clothes are too dirty, and there's blood on them. If you are spotted by any officers, that won't be good. You should chapter range after I leave. Here, Feng Jiao openly took the banknote and handed over Situule's orange silk shirt to Li Minshan, smiling. Sure, I will treat it as using 100 taels to buy these clothes. Li Minshan looked at Feng Zhiao's bright, smiling face. In the 21 years of his life, it was the first time had he looked at a girl so in days. The girl in front of him was of no doubt a beauty. Her brows looked like a painting, her face cute like an angel's. Her long eyelashes formed a tempting curve on that oval-shaped face of hers, moist skin, like a warm jade, filled with soft light, her peach-aptery lips, so beautiful you want to take them down. But the most shocking feature to him was her glassy eyes, filled with chaptericiness and wisdom. You could say that too. Feng Zhiao mischapteriously blinked at him. Miss Feng, you can't leave yet. I heard footsteps of strangers nearing here. Li Minshan's expression suddenly chapteranged and hurriedly dragged Feng Zhiao to hide in a bush, proceeding to cover her mouth and warn her under his breath. Feng Zhiao was quite shocked. His palm was rough and dotted with blisters, making her lips hurt. Li Minshan let go. Feng Zhiao shook his hand off and rolled her eyes at him. Anyway, they aren't after me. She is really heartless. She lifted her white as a cabbage finger pointing to her red, luscious lips, cutesily crying out, You see, you hurt me here. I'm sorry. Why don't you hurt me too? That would be my apology. Li Minshan said and looked down, his face bright red. Immediately after, he moved his pretty white face right in front of Feng Zhiao, so close you can smell the scent of stocks on him, making Feng Zhiao's heart skip a beat. He was so close he could smell the fragrance of virginity on her neck. As he looked up, that was a face with beauty like no other. Her clear eyes were half closed, shaping a perfect curve, like a half-open fan. A cute little nose, straight and pretty, lips like they were dotted with rain dew, scented with temptation all over. Her perfectly white face had a soft shade of redness, like a blooming red plum blossom, sweet, smelling, and attractive. Thud, thud, thud. The stranger's footsteps were getting closer and closer. T-chapter, no need for that. Feng Zhiao heard the footsteps and pushed him away depressingly, her sight fixated on the horizon, thinking, weird. How is it that Papa Feng and Situ Yue are leading a bun chapter of men up here? Are they coming for her? Come, let's go. Those people are not after me. Miss Feng, you may leave now. Li Minshan's looked normal for a while when the wind blew gently on his feverishly red face. He raised his head to see Papa Feng and the others and turned over to tease Feng Zhiao for a bit. Oh yeah, the one at the lead is my father. He is probably looking for me with this many people. Why don't you wait for us to leave before you come out? Feng Zhiao was thinking that she absolutely could not let Situ Yue see his clothes on Li Minshan. Okay. Although he wasn't sure why Miss Feng would make this request, but he immediately agreed to it. He had his considerations too. He had a special status. It is best for him to not meet her relatives after all. Oh, Li Minshan. Feng Zhiao smiled at him brightly. Li Minshan smiled in return. His glassy eyes were like they had a clear stream flowing inside, giving people the sense of comfort. Okay, Miss Feng. He guessed that they will meet again. Yes, he is looking forward to it. Oh yeah, your wound just needs some gene chaptering medicine on it. It would be healed after half a month. Feng Zhiao suddenly thought of something and reminded him. Yower! Yower! Papa Feng's shouting came closer and closer. Daddy, I'm here. Feng Zhiao heard it and stood up from behind the bushes, pulling on her blood-stained skirt running to Papa Feng. Yower, as you didn't return home last night, I sent my men to sear chapter many places. When I heard Xiong'er say that you left Songha restaurant with Lord Situ, I went to his place early in the morning to look for you together. Feng Wucai hugged his daughter, looking all over her, all emotional. When he saw the blood stains on her skirt, immediately asked worriedly, How is there blood on your clothes? Did someone bully you? Or was it done by wild animals? He raised his head looking around. Daddy, I am fine. The blood was because I was hungry last night and caught a bird, and ate it alive. You. Daddy, I want to go home. I don't want to stay even a moment more here. Feng Zhiao buried her face on Papa Feng's chapterist and made some crocodile tears. Okay. I will bring you home now. Lord Situ, thank you for showing the way today. Only then could we have found Yower so quickly. Your help is Mu chapter appreciated. Feng Wucai saw that Situ Yue was looking at Feng Jiao's body the whole time and gave a few coughs. You are welcome. Though I have some questions I would like to ask your daughter alone. I hope you might agree. Situ Yue looked at Feng Jiao, thinking, where was the clothes she had stolen from him? If Yaoer agrees, I don't see a problem with it. Feng Wucai stroked his beard and nodded. Feng Jiao turned around to look at the place where Li Minshan was sitting before, thinking, funny, just a moment and he's already gone? Has he left this place yet? Feng Jiao, what are you looking at? Situ Yue saw her looking left and right and asked curiously. I was not looking at anything. You. What do you want to ask me? Better to get over with this quick, else she cannot go home to have a meal. Where's my clothes? My fan? When are you going to give them back? Situ Yue went up to her and asked in a hushed voice. I have sold your clothes for 100 taels. Do you want the banknote? The fan was a present from you. I will just accept it for now. Feng Jiao smelled the fragrance of wild flowers that filled the mountains and felt really good. Her lips curved up. Her smile was like the light of a morning sun, an eye-catching beauty. What? Ah, forget it. Because of her warm smile, Situ Yue's originally angry expression was melted by her. Thank you then, Situ Gongzi. Oh right. Was the natural naked bath comfortable? Upon leaving with her father, Feng Jiao jeered at Situ Yue in purpose, making him cough in rage. Along the way, Feng Wucai warned his daughter, Yaoer, Situ Gongzi is the future husband of the princess. Even if you have a close relationship with him, you need to keep your distance from him. Even though he was baffled as to when his daughter got so close to Situ Yue, but he does not want to scold Feng Jiao in front of his men. Daddy, what are you thinking? There's nothing between Situ Gongzi and me. Even though she wanted it, but it wasn't meant to be, Feng Jiao depressingly gave a sigh. There better be nothing. Oh yeah, Yaoer. Xiong'er told me that you annulled the engagement with the Prince of Qi by yourself? Is that true? Feng Wucai raised his eyebrows and asked. Yes, Daddy. The Prince of Qi likes Jiqiang. I am stepping out to fulfill their love. Feng Jiao lightly replied. Yaoer, weren't you in love in the Prince of Qi earlier? How did you annul the engagement with him by yourself? This is unbelievable. Feng Wucai's face was filled with disbelief. Daddy, the Prince of Qi is not good enough for your daughter here. Feng Jiao replied Feng Wucai with narcissistically, but of course he agrees. Don't worry, Yaoer. I will definitely find a better husband for you. Feng Wucai looked at Feng Jiao lovingly. There wasn't a single drop of disapproval in his eyes. Feng Jiao saw that they were nearing the Prime Minister's residence and didn't want to make a scene, so she nodded in agreement. Gufu, Jiao, where have you came from this early in the morning? In front of the extravagant manor, a young man clad in purple silk clothes stood with his hands behind his back, speaking with a melodious voice, though in Feng Jiao's ears it was more sleep-inducing. Feng Jiao saw that the one who was calling her Jiao Mimi oh so affectionately was Su Mayan, and she nodded at him unenthusiastically. Actually, what kind of cousin was he? Else why would she have addressed him as young Master Su? Yaoer, if you are tired, you may go to your room first. Feng Wucai sensed that Feng Jiao did not want to bother with Su Mayan. Yes, Daddy, Yaoer shall now leave. Feng Jiao almost was going to shout, Daddy, you are so wise. She turned around lightly and left. Yinner, you never come here without a reason. What is it that you are meeting me for? Feng Wucai walked into his door and signaled Su Mayan to follow him. Su Mayan did not immediately answer as his sight was fixated on Feng Jiao's curvy silhouette. After a while, he replied, Gufu, I guess that you have heard of Jiao Mimi breaking off her engagement with the Prince of Qi herself? What do you plan to do next? Su Mayan was here on Feng Jiao's request to ask Feng Wucai of his opinion. Let things run its course then. If he really is going to treat Xiong'er well, so be it. If hurting one of my daughters is not enough, and he hurts my other daughter, well, we will see. Feng Wucai thought of his two daughters as the flesh of his hands. Whi chapter was why he shouted angrily, Gufu. Since that's the case, I won't say any more. Su Mayan thought that Feng Wucai did not agree to the engagement between Xiong'er and the Prince of Qi. You came here just to ask me about this matter? Feng Wucai looked at him deeply, At the young age of 19, he was the boss of Jitian Fortress. Although he was only the young master, he was already managing his family business. Yaoer marrying him seems like a good proposition. Yes, actually I came over to see Xiao Mimi. I heard from Chong'er Mimi that few days ago she got the flu from being in the rain. So, Su Mayan spoke with a great deal of sincerity. Actually, he was curious about the chapter agent Feng Xiao. So he came over early in the morning looking for answers. Yeah, you should go to Hiding Garden and talk to Yaoer. Try to open her up. Feng Wucai laughed at Su Mayan's words. Yes, Gufu. Su Mayan nodded his head and went towards Hiding Garden. Feng Wucai looked at Su Mayan's back with some feelings of expectation. If Yaoer could marry Yin'er, they would be able to form closer ties with Jitian Fortress. But what does Yaoer think about this? Forget it. Yaoer just broke off from an engagement, and having Su chapter thoughts doesn't seem too good. He shrugged his shoulders and let it go. Ziyun, this porridge is too tasteless. Feng Xiao wasn't just picky on men, she was picky on food too. Seeing the thickness of the porridge in her bowl and feeling its taste, she became unhappy. Eldest miss, this porridge was cooked with the amount of heat as you ordered. It shouldn't be too mu chapter of a difference. Ziyun was kind of depressed and pouted. Okay. Cook it one more time. I am going to take a hot bath first. I lost my way last night and now I am all dirty. Feng Xiao looked at her blood-stained skirt and immediately informed her maids to prepare her food. Feng Xiao found that her life as a little miss in the ancient times was really comfortable. Even during her bath, she had 4 maids to serve her. However, Feng Xiao did not like having so many eyes looking at her as she bathed. Therefore, she had Chapterin, Lan, Qiu, Ju leave her alone. When Su Mayan came over, Feng Xiao was still enjoying her bath. Young Master Su, why are you in eldest Mrs. Compound? Ziyun was carrying a bowl of porridge when she saw Su Mayan. Wha chapter shocked her a bit, since he rarely came over to Hiding Garden looking for her mistress. Ziyun Yatu, why is your eldest Mrs. door shut closed? Su Mayan was walking around in the garden. When he saw Ziyun coming from the kit chapterin, he chaptered her to ask his question. Eldest Miss is in the bath, so it would be best if you... Eldest Miss is not really ready to meet you, It isn't proper. Ziyun didn't like Su Mayan at all because of Feng Zhiqiang, so she gave a cold reply. You are a maid. You shouldn't meddle too mu chapter in the matters of your masters. Su Mayan scolded her angrily. Ziyun, I am done bathing. You can let young Master Su to take my porridge in. Feng Xiao heard Su Mayan scolding Ziyun, and she came up with an idea to punish him, also to seduce him in the process. Yes, eldest miss. Ziyun shoved the bowl of porridge in Su Mayan's hands. Eldest miss said that you can go in now. I take my leave. After she finished, Ziyun turned back to the kit chapterin to continue with her chapterors. Su Mayan looked at the bowl of hot porridge. It smelled so good that anyone would crave for it. He thought, that maid Ziyun isn't mu chapter of a looker, but her cooking skills are great. Su Mayan did not have any hobbies, but the thing he loved most was eating good food. Forget it. Afterwards he can mention a Feng Xiao about it. Let him bring Ziyun Yatu to Jitian Fortress to be his maid, so that he can have good food all the time. After thinking about that, a big smile appeared on his handsome white face, glowing it up. With a creaking sound he opened the door, and Su Mayan was stunned. The white jade bowl in his hands dropped onto the floor, breaking into pieces. The porridge in it flowed everywhere. Young Master Su, you are too mu chapter. How could you come in just like that? Coming in so fast, Yue. Feng Xiao used a white cloth to cover her chapterist as she wailed loudly at the top of her lungs. Xiao Mimi. I didn't do it on purpose. You said you were done bathing, and so I came in. Su Mayan saw that she was stark naked and immediately turned away. His face was very red, his belly was burning, and there was a frog in his throat. But I didn't say I have worn my clothes. You Wu. Now, I have been seen by you completely. Feng Xiao saw that he had his back against her. Naturally, he could not see that she was mocking him. She was laughing so mu chapter that her shoulders were twit-chaptering, and he actually thought that she was crying. Immediately, she thought that teasing Su Mayan was actually quite fun. At least she could take revenge for the original Feng Xiao on him for throwing a frog into her courtyard. Feng Xiao. Then, Wah, what should I do? Su Mayan's mind went blank at her wail, but he did not lose the reaction on that part of his body. Damn it. Why would he have Su chapter a strong reaction to a girl he had hated since he was young? The fire in his chapterist seemed like it was going to explode. Number 1. You are not to help Feng Zhiqiang bully me. Feng Zhiyao was covered with a white cotton towel, and she came step by step closer to him. The cutesy voice of a young lady like this immediately had a soothing effect on Su Mayan's entire body, tingling his skin all over. I didn't help Qiong or Mimi bully you. Su Mayan answered, creasing his eyebrows. Funny, why has Feng Zhiyao's chapter actor chapter-ranged Somu chapter? Number 2. Feng Zhiyao has arrived at the past for a couple of days. She has been craving for love for quite long. However, the matter with Situ Yue did not end well. Seeing a beautiful man coming to her doorstep, how could she let go? Chapter 13. Man in Blue Kalthes. Although Su Mayan looked at him with a bit of disgust, she didn't care. That was because no matter what, Su Mayan was considered a handsome man. What? That she let him kiss her? Su Mayan's handsome body trembled as he tried his best to suppress it. He couldn't think straight, but she thought, how good it would be to have a nice dinner after a nice bath. Then she did the same. She lightly smiled and caressed Su Mayan's handsome face. She raised her hand and lifted his delicate chapterin, forcing him to meet her gaze. At the same time, she licked her pink and tender lips and quickly kissed Su Mayan's face. However, she heard Su Mayan's angry and shocked rebuke. You, Feng Zhiyao, why are you Su chapter a lowly person? Su Mayan was annoyed with the young lady from her respectable boudoir. How could she do Su chapter a thing to her? He hurriedly shook her hand away and cursed. Bah, I am chaptereep? Feng Zhiyao parroted, then coldly snorted twice, her eyes cold. When Su Mayan thought of the events of his chapterhood, his eyes immediately revealed a look of disdain. He even used his broad sleeves to wipe his face, as if she was dirty. When Feng Zhiyao saw that Su Mayan had been kissed by her, he actually reacted in Su chapter a manner. She even had the heart to kill him, but she held herself back in the way of her body as she possessed. Apart from being indolent of people, she had an extremely strong tolerance. One day she'll make him fall down in her garnet. After Su chapter a mental construction, Feng Zhiyao smiled without anger and purity. Her clear eyes looked at him. Su Mayan, you'll regret it. Su Mayan wanted to turn around and walk out. However, he was hugged by Feng Zhiyao's slender arms. Do you want to leave this door so easily when you see my body? Su Mayan wanted to turn around and push her away. Who would have thought that his ink-like eyes would look at her beautiful face and stare blankly for a long time with an infatuated expression in her eyes? After the bath, Feng Zhiyao was completely clean and elegant. Her brows were like a new moon. Her eyes were like stars, her nose was full of chapterary lips, and her body was like a cicada's snow-white cloud veil. Her hair was like the Orchapterid's beauty, and she was beautiful and pure. At some point, Su Mayan felt that his entire body was boiling hot. Strange, when his clothes had been stripped clean, why didn't he feel anything before? Su Mayan also noticed that his heart was rippling. Feng Zhiyao, what did you do to me? Why did he look only once in her eyes, and his clothes were inexplicably stripped away? I'm not doing anything to you. Your clothes are too mu chapter of a hurry yourself to take it off. Feng Zhiyao languidly lifted her jade foot to sit on the beauty ku chapter. No, he was sure of that. He didn't like Feng Zhiyao since he was a kid, and it was impossible for him to be too rash and disgracefully embarrassing to her. Then come and let me tell you the truth. Feng Zhiyao chapter-ranged into a comfortable sleeping position. The snow-white cloud veil that was as thin as a cicada's wing slowly slid down, revealing delicate butterfly collarbone. Then, the white dove was half-naked, its curves exquisite. Although Su Mayan had been to a brothel, he always talked business with his customers. Where had he seen Su chapter a red heartbeat? Su Mayan's handsome face was red as she hastily picked up the clothes on the floor and quickly put them on her body. Ran away in haste. Behind him was Feng Zhiyao's laughter. Sooner or later, I'll take you down. Then, Feng Zhiyao calmly asked herself after pulling off her snow-white veil. Did she look so terrible? What has happened to the young miss? Ziyun pushed open the door and walked in. He looked at Feng Zhiyao, who was fanning himself with a fan, and asked in confusion, "Young miss, how did young master run so fast like someone is chapter racing after him?" "Ziyun, it's just that he and I were chapterless and fell into the white jade bowls. You must clean them up. I want to sleep in beauty." After she finished speaking, she began to pretend to be sleeping. Oh yes. Although Ziyun felt that this matter was strange, due to the fact that the master and servant had other identities, she was as smart as she was. She didn't ask any more questions and bent down to clean the broken tiles on the floor. It was just that the days would not be very dull. Only after she'd left the Su Mayan and Feng Zhiqiang came over. When they arrived, Ziyun was just about to pour the broken tiles. "Where is your young miss? Inside the house?" Feng Zhiqiang proudly raised her chapterin and coldly asked Ziyun. "Second miss, big miss has fallen asleep." Ziyun was courting Princess Lingxi because of her servant's identity. Go to sleep? Why is she asleep? How lazy. Xinyuan Lingxi had a mean manner due to the small trade culties that she had previously knitted, especially when she saw the extremely beautiful begonias sleeping chapter art at this moment, the ice bones, the smooth snow-white skin that taught her to be envious of her madness. "You stinky girl, quickly go and call for your eldest young miss to get up. The princess is here." Feng Zhiqiang smiled at Xinyuan Lingxi in favor, and then she pretended to be bullying again. Ziyun didn't want to go, but he was pushed away by Feng Zhiqiang's servant girl. "Ziyun, where did the barking of dogs come from? It's noisy. All of you, get out here." The airfield was strong, but she was drifting off to sleep again. "Feng Zhiyao, how can Brother Lei's fan be here in your place?" Xinyuan Lingxi had originally come here to find fault. Now that she saw the jade bone fan that was placed on the table beside Feng Zhiyao, she immediately flew over to Feng Zhiyao furiously. "Ah, Princess Lingxi, you need to chapter arrange your rash personality. If you don't chapter arrange, your future son-in-law will be married to someone else. This fan, you want it." Feng Zhiyao didn't seem to care, but she was really pissed off. They really were full of food and nothing to do. Need rest? She opened her beautiful eyes lazily and glared at Xinyuan Lingxi. Then, she looked at Feng Zhiqiang, "Little sister Zhiqiang. It's fine if you're muddled. Why did you bring Princess Lingxi to me? Don't you know that she will be very sad when she sees her brother Lei's gift?" After saying that, Feng Zhiyao yawned gracefully. Bingo! This little girl successfully reversed the situation. With this sentence, she gave Xinyuan Lingxi and Feng Zhiqiang's close relationship a bit of a discount, almost turning her head around. "Feng Zhiqiang, so you already knew that Brother Lei sent this slut fan. You actually hid from me. Humph." Xinyuan Lingxi glared viciously at Feng Zhiqiang, but she was still as sharp as she'd ever been. "Princess Lingxi, I really don't know about this. Don't listen to Feng Zhiyao. I'm being wronged." Feng Zhiqiang was furious. She had always angered Feng Zhiyao all the way back to the past. When had she become so upset? Feng Zhiqiang chaptered the silk handkerchief chapterif tightly in her hand, wishing she could rush up and slap Feng Zhiyao. However, Feng Zhiyao had long anticipated her intentions, and her body flickered slightly as she dodged. "Sister Zhiqiang, could it be that I asked you to call the Princess of Lingxi to my house?" When Feng Zhiyao saw that she didn't give up, she immediately thought of something and rambled on. This made Feng Zhiqiang's mouth drop blurry. "Feng Zhiqiang, you're so vicious." Xinyuan Lingxi picked up the golden jade bone fan and left without looking back, leaving behind her servant girl. She left behind her, leaving behind a stunned Feng Zhiqiang. "Aya, my good sister Zhiqiang, Princess Lingxi has already left. Why are you still here to be a disgrace?" Feng Zhiyao mocked and ridiculed her. She couldn't deal with the royal Princess Lingxi openly, but she wouldn't let go of this bad girl that was out of her aria chapter. "Feng Zhiyao, you wait. I'll make you look. And I, Feng Zhiqiang, curse you for not being able to get married for life." Feng Zhiqiang was quite angry with her. No, she couldn't speak incoherently. She even read out the black curse. "I like the curse, haha." Feng Zhiqiang was not single. Feng Zhiqiang was dumbfounded. She thought that Feng Zhiyao would cry out miserably after hearing this, but she only smiled. She was still smiling heartlessly. How was this possible? Is she really Feng Zhiyao? Get lost. You will not come back to the begonia garden. Feng Zhiyao suddenly stood up and went to the corner to grab a broom, wanting to chapter race her away. Feng Zhiyao, I'm your sister. Feng Zhiqiang's words implied that you were doing the wrong thing. Bullshit. You're really my sister. Are you going to rob my fiancé? You don't mean to ridicule me. Roll. Go away from this, miss. Feng Zhiyao called out to Ziyun to accompany her. Second miss, let's go quickly. Kai Dai saw Feng Zhiyao's scarlet eyes. She hurriedly whispered in her ear. Feng Zhiqiang also felt that it was better to leave quickly, so she left under the laughter of Feng Zhiyao and Ziyun. Eldest miss, I've never been so happy before. Ziyun replied happily. Ziyun, this young lady will be so happy every day of your future. Feng Zhiyao promised. Good. Ah, young lady, I made the chaptrican ribs soup. I'm going to the kit chapterinette. Ziyun hurriedly said as he smelled the scent of chaptrican ribs soup that was drifting in from the air. Is that right? Then hurry. Feng Zhiyao nodded and waved to her. With delicious food, she was happy. Ziyun took 3 steps and walked towards the small kit chapterin. Who knew that Feng Zhiyao would hear the exclamation of Ziyun's voice? Eldest miss, bad. The wild chaptrican ribs soup was eaten by someone. See, it's this old beggar. Look at his mouth full of aroma of ribs and soup. He must have eaten it. Ziyun angrily dragged the old beggar out of the corner. Hey, wake up, old man. Feng Zhiyao looked at the old man wearing a gray robe. His body was skinny and his long beard was floating in the air, but he had a hint of the aura of an immortal. How could this old geezer come to this small courtyard? Did he find the scent of the chaptrican ribs soup? Who's that? I'll sleep for a while longer. The old beggar was even more fragrant than before, and he didn't even care about Feng Zhiyao's words. Pop. There was actually someone who could sleep in this time and space of her beauty, and lying on the ground asleep. Young miss, this old man is asleep again. What should we do? I spent a lot of effort on that wild chaptrican pork chapterop soup. Ziyun almost wanted to cry, but she was unable to shed any tears. Ziyun, let's go. I will personally cook and punish this old beggar today. When Feng Zhiyao thought of the delicious food that she had brought to her mouth to chapter this hateful old beggar, she almost cut off his long beard with scissors. Did you really? That slave was blessed. When Ziyun heard this, she immediately felt full of energy. She hummed a little song and followed Feng Zhiyao into the small kit chapterin. An hour later, Feng Zhiyao placed a roasted fragrant duck around the old beggar's nose and waved it around. Nice, nice, nice. The smell of duck? The old beggar's eyes opened wide as he smelled the fragrance. His eyes lit up, and he raised his hand to pull the roast duck that Feng Zhiyao had been talking about. Like to eat. How could she let him get away with it? Withdraw her hand. She smiled and asked, her face full of mischapteriousness. She thought, this old man is really greedy. He doesn't sleep anymore. It seems like he still doesn't have his own sleep. Nonsense, of course I want to. The old beggar looked at the salivating duck and the droplets that were drooling from his mouth. Then why don't you tell me why you stole the chaptrican pork chapterop soup that I was made by me? Feng Zhiyao was furious when she thought of this, and she scolded him. Isn't it my stupid disciples' cooking that's hard to eat yet? Aren't I coming out to find food for myself? When he said this, the old beggar's face was filled with disappointment. When he talked about it, he was about to blow his teeth. Hey, old man, what you mean is, I have good food for my little girl. Feng Zhiyao asked proudly. The old beggar tilted his head and nodded reluctantly. Ziyun, look, your good culinary arts brought people here. Feng Zhiyao said. Young miss, you don't need to insult me. You smelly old man, quickly pay me a silver. It's not easy. It took 2.5 hours to pluck the feathers. Chapter 14 Yi Weiyang Silver? Didn't I just going to drink a pot of wild chaptrican chapterop bone soup? The old beggar glared gloomily at Ziyun. My Ziyun is right. Old man, quickly give me the silver. Otherwise, you can make yourself in my courtyard as a Wat chapterman. Feng Zhiao remembered that the delicious wild chaptrakan bone soup had entered his stomach chapter, so she became extremely angry. What? How could it be possible for him, the grand elder of the Night Rakshasa, to stay in this small courtyard? What chapterman? No. How about this? I will call my disciple to pay you the silver immediately. The old beggar quickly picked up the silver flute he was carrying and began to play a series of strange melodies. Eldest miss, could this old man be chapter-eating? Ziyun didn't believe that the old man was willing to pay the silver taels so straightforwardly. He dares. Feng Zhiao lazily leaned against the crabapple tree, picked up a pink crabapple flower, played with it in her hand, and cast a vicious glance at Ziyun. Ziyun's body trembled at the sight her eyes. My, young Miss eyes are so sharp. She looks so terrible. Miss, look. Who is that good-looking young man? Ziyun was startled by the blue-clothed man who suddenly appeared at the begonia garden. This was the courtyard of the young miss. How could a stranger enter? Little girl, my little disciple is here. You can ask him for some silver. Can you give me a crispy roast duck? When the beggar old man saw the blue-clothed man arrive, he immediately stopped blowing the flute and held his long beard, looking at Feng Zhiao and her servant with fawning eyes. Master, why did you summon Wei Yang here? The blue-clothed man wielded the spirit serpent sword in his hand and landed gracefully on the ground. Not only was the young man called Wei Yang very handsome, his voice was even more pleasant to listen to. It was like flowing water, with beads of jade dropping onto the plate, and every word was sparkling. Oi, old man, is this the stupid disciple that you spoke of, who is not good at cooking? Feng Zhiao threw away the pink crabapple flower in her hand and walked in front of the blue-clothed man, her beautiful eyes shining, carefully looking at that man. The blue-clothed man's black hair was tied up by a mahogany hairpin. His eyebrows were straight and sword-shaped. He had a pair of long and thin black eyes, thin lips, a sharp and angular outline, and a tall but not boorish body. A very heroic man. She liked him, especially the spirit serpent sword in his hand. It was even more terrifying. Its shape was thin and long, able to be hidden within bamboo poles. Once it was unsheathed, cold light would flash, and it would tremble like a spirit snake, hence its name. Little girl, seeing that sword for so long, aren't you afraid? The beggar old man was somewhat astonished. His disciple's spirit serpent sword was the #1 poison sword. This girl was not afraid. She had been chaptering him for so long. This sword would constantly tremble in the face of the gentle breeze, making it impossible for the opponent to see where the tip of the sword was pointed, let alone where it was aimed at. Experts could be useful. Spirit like green bamboo, poison like a red bamboo, 7-step soul fragment, life gone. It could be said that this was the #1 poison sword of the Southern Temple. This sword, you are, well, hey, handsome man, give me the silver. Previously, a pot of wild chaptrakan bone dumplings, soup, and the super roast duck that was newly made. Including the labor expenses, it was about 249 taels. How about this, 250? Feng Zhiao tried her best to take back her thoughts of eating the pretty man. Then, she quickly took the delicate abacus that Ziyun was carrying on her body and gave a price that made all of them stare in shock. What, girl, is it that expensive? The beggar old man was the first to regain his senses, immediately blowing his beard and glaring at Feng Zhiao. Expensive? If you think it's too expensive, you should come to my house and steal some food. It's good that I didn't send you to the government. Hey, old man's disciple, hurry up and give me the silver. Feng Zhiao chaptered out her soft, white palm, about to ask for the silver. I only have 100 taels. I don't have any leftovers. Wei Yang looked at his master who was about to go limp. Gritting his teeth, he took out the 100 taels of silver and threw it on the ground. Arrogance and disdain appeared in his eyes. To be deceived like this, even though it was a matter of 30 taels of silver, it still cost 250 taels. When Wei Yang thought of 250 taels, his pretty lips twitch-chaptered several times. What? If he didn't have that mu chapter silver, then forget it. He even threw the banknotes on the ground, letting her pick them up. The worst thing was, he actually looked down on her. How infuriating. Hey, old man, you two still owe me 150 taels, and seeing that you two are so good-looking that you can chapter the audience, I'll cut to another 50 taels, and then you two can take out another 100 of banknotes for me. If you don't take it out, you, the gluttonous old man, will leave you here as my free chapterman. Feng Jiao secretly calmed down, then rolled her eyes, threatening him word by word. That's unreasonable. Master, let's go. This was the first time Wei Yong saw Su Chapter an unrelenting woman. His eyes were filled with disgust. After saying this, he wanted to drag his master away. Wei Yong, do you really only have 100 taels of silver? Strange, according to Wei Yong's illustrious background. Why did he bring only one silver note? However, Wei Yong nodded his head with certainty. He was so angry that the old beggar almost fainted. Hey, smelly old man, you're not allowed to leave. When Ziyun saw that good-looking man look down on her young miss, she immediately became extremely angry and helped out. Little girl, being an old gatekeeper hurts my face too, Mu Chapter. How about you chapter-arrange your method? The beggar old man glared at Wei Yong in dissatisfaction. He huffed angrily as he ate the roast duck, cursing to himself. Even though they had a mountain of gold and silver, he only brought 100 taels of silver. Another way? Feng Jiao intentionally glanced at Wei Yong. Wei Yong's hair stood on end from Feng Jiao's glance. An ominous premonition suddenly emerged in his heart. Yes, as long as it's not Mu Chapter, I can agree. The beggar old man thought about how his well-known status made him a follower of this little girl. All right, then I want your disciple to be my bodyguard for 3 days. 3 days later, he can leave this begonia garden. Fuck. 3 days is more than enough for me to eat him dry and wipe him clean. Faced with Feng Jiao's non-chapterolent request, the beggar old man shrugged his shoulders. It didn't matter. He knew his little disciple's kung fu, so he naturally nodded and agreed. On the other hand, Wei Yong refused. He hurriedly refuted his master, I disagree. His face was grim as he expressed his disapproval of the matter. No effect. Feng Jiao and the beggar old man coldly glared at him. Old man, is the roast duck I made tasty? Feng Jiao laughed like a spring breeze. 3 days and 3 nights of hugging the beautiful man. This was a wonderful matter. Delicious. Any more? The old beggar wiped the grease from his lips with his sleeve and licked his lips, drooling. Yes, there's another one in the kit chapterin, but it's also the only one, and it's very expensive. Feng Jiao winked at Ziyun, indicating her to go to the kit chapterin and bring it over for the old man to eat. Although Ziyun didn't know what the young miss meant, she still obediently followed the order. How about this? I'll mortgage my disciple to you for a month. During this month, you only need to provide me with delicacies. When the beggar old man saw the P-chapter color in Feng Jiao's watery eyes, he thought to himself, could it be that my little disciple's luck has arrived? He might as well take the opportunity to help his stupid disciple. So he said with a smile, Oh, really? Feng Jiao simply couldn't believe her good luck. Of course it's true. You don't need to ask my disciple's opinion. He doesn't dare to disobey my words. What he meant was to tell Feng Jiao that his stupid disciple had to agree even if he didn't want to. Wei Yong's delicate and fair face was aghast and gloomy. He clenchaptered his fists tightly and made gurgling sounds. Oh, right, old man. What's your name and that stupid disciple of yours? Only then did Feng Jiao remember to ask their names. I'm Yi Songhai. My stupid disciple is called Yi Wei Yong. The beggar old man took the roasted duck from Ziyun's hand and pulled down a duck leg. He ate with gusto and answered all of Feng Jiao's questions one by one. Hey, girl, don't you know my name in the martial arts world? Yi Songhai felt very strange. He even stopped eating roast duck. I don't know. Feng Jiao directly answered him. My master is the famous leader of Night Rakshasa. Originally, he thought that Su Chapter, a noble girl, would definitely cry from hearing Su Chapter, a terrifying title. However, he had failed, and Feng Jiao was actually overjoyed upon hearing it. In other words, this old man was the leader of the Ancient Assassination Association. Oh, So they did the same thing. Chapter 15 Drug Effect in. Got it? Feng Jiao gently smiled, not caring about it at all. On the other hand, Ziyun was very scared and hid behind Feng Jiao. Ziyun thought to herself, heavens, she actually asked the head of Night Rakshasa for money just now. Is she crazy? Fortunately, she was lucky enough to have taken a small life. Huh, aren't you afraid of my master's name? Yi Weiyang looked at the girl in front of him. Her beautiful eyes contained water, and her seductive chapter arm rippled outwards. Her small lips slightly curled up, and her red lips slightly opened in an attempt to attract others to kiss her. This was a woman who exuded seductive chapter arm from her bones. Abruptly, Yi Weiyang's hand that was holding the spirit serpent's sword trembled slightly. He turned his face away, not daring to look at Su Chapter, this coquettish girl. Do you want to hear the answer? Feng Jiao waved at him with a sweet smile. Yi Weiyang subconsciously nodded his head. However, after Feng Jiao whispered a few words into his ear, his face instantly turned red, and he almost cursed out at her. If not for his master's presence, Yi Weiyang thought, he would have definitely cut her down with his spirit serpent sword. Yi Weiyang never thought that Feng Jiao would be so bold as to actually whisper in his ear, "Don't be afraid, it's because of you." These ambiguous words made Yi Weiyang's handsome face turn unnatural red. Cough, cough. Pretend I didn't ask. Yi Weiyang noticed his master Yi Songhai's mischievous gaze on him. He immediately coughed a few times to conceal his embarrassment. Weiyang, since that's the case, you should stay here and protect this girl. Anyway, 1 month will pass in the blink of an eye. Soon, I still have something to do, so I'll be leaving first. Yi Songhai raised his hand and used his sleeve to wipe his greasy mouth. Glimmers danced in his eyes, as if he had thought of something. He walked up to Yi Weiyang and patted him on the shoulder. Geezer, what if your disciple doesn't listen to me? Seeing that Yi Songhai was about to leave, Feng Jiao immediately thought of a big problem. Weiyang. Yi Songhai exerted force to teach after Yi Weiyang a lesson. Master. Got it. Damn it, it's all this woman. He had been taught a lesson by his teacher. Yi Songhai nodded, and with a whoosh, he kept the silver flute. Immediately, he nimbly flew over the walls and left the begonia garden. Yi Weiyang, this is an order from your beloved master. Be good, you have to listen to him. When Feng Jiao thought of eating the beautiful man tonight, her delicate face was full of excitement. WHI chapter added a little bit more light to her pretty face. Winking her pair of bright and watery eyes, she spoke sweetly to Yi Weiyang. All right, for the sake of my master's orders, I, Yi Weiyang, will tolerate it. His master was right. It would only be a month. A man can bend and bend. Ziyun, quick. Go down to the cellar and get some ice. We'll have something to quench after our thirst after dinner. Feng Jiao looked up at the blazing sun, then glanced at the pretty boy next to her. After Ziyun received the order, she immediately left. Woman, don't keep looking at me. This was the first time Yi Weiyang had been stared at by a girl for Su Chapter a long time. His handsome face became even redder. Like a steamed crab, this was more fun. Feng Jiao immediately got playful. She wanted to take a good look at this man's mental fortitude. Yi Weiyang, your name is very nice to listen to. Oh, don't call me woman. I also have a name. My name is Feng Jiao. You can simply call me Yaoer like my father. Feng Jiao playfully played with her inky black hair on her chapterist as she said with a bright smile. Yao. Yaoer, he was obeying his master's orders to listen to her, so he shouted. But why? When he called out the girl's maiden name, his gaze was fixed on her delicate face. What was wrong with him? Could it be that he was bewitchaptered? Good boy. Feng Jiao giggled. Hearing this, Yi Weiyang's mouth twitch-chaptered violently. At this moment, he was looking forward to seeing that little girl called Ziyun come back so that he wouldn't have to face this little girl alone. Eldest miss, I've brought the ice cubes. Ziyun quickly ran over with a huge silver bowl in her hands. You guys will have your blessings later. Blessing? Hearing this, Yi Weiyang's lips curved up in a smile. Could it be that he also had a share? The night was cold as water. The night scenery in the mansion was undoubtedly wonderful. the lush forest bamboo, the plain flower vanilla. Bring green water into the garden, moonlight, with a silver scale of microwave. The clear light was clear, and the night breeze was chapterly. After dinner, in the main house of the begonia garden, Feng Zhiyao handed a bowl of mung bean ice sand to Ziyun and Yi Weiyang. Eldest miss, is this what you spent 6 hours on? Ziyun sniffed the aroma and thought that it should be very tasty. Her eyes lit up and her fingers began to move. That's right. Hurry up and eat it. I only made 3 servings. Yi Weiyang, you eat too. This is called the brilliant vital force. Eat, eat. She had managed to put some material on it, hoping to put him down so that she could make it easy. She hoped he ate it, so that his little brother could show off his might, so that both sides would want to die. Thinking of this, a light flashed across Feng Zhiyao's eyes, and her beautiful face became even more flirtatious and attentive. Yi Weiyang's hands were trembling as he took the bowl and the spoon. This was the first time a girl personally cooked food for him. He lowered his eyes to look at the exquisite icy sand. Within the lush greenery, snowflakes drifted down. The base was shaped like a lotus flower carved from watermelon, vivid and lifelike, causing one to drool at the sight of it. Therefore, while Feng Zhiyao encouraged him to eat, he first frowned. Then he used a silver spoon to scoop a spoonful and gently put it in his mouth. Ah, the taste was icy cold and very tasty. Why was Feng Zhiyao looking at Yi Weiyang with Su chapter an urgent and what chapterful eye? It was because she was afraid that Yi Weiyang wouldn't even take a bite. In that case, her intention would be in vain. Bingo! He really ate it. Amazing! Amazing! Tonight, she could enjoy his courage. She wondered if he had any experience in that area. Ziyun couldn't understand why her eldest young miss was looking at him like a hunter looking at his prey. She thought she was seeing things. Ziyun, don't look at me like that. Hurry up and eat, then eat. Hurry up and rest. I don't need you to serve me here. You are. Aren't you tired after a whole day? In fact, she had put sleep pills in Ziyun's bowl. If Ziyun were to fall asleep next, she would definitely wake up in the morning. Oh, all right, eldest miss. Your mung bean ice sand is really delicious. Ziyun obediently finished her meal and then took the 3 dishes and spoons to the kitchapterin. Yi Weiyang, why aren't you saying anything? Feng Zhiyao looked at him stroking the tassel on the spirit serpent sword sheath and asked in confusion, Weird. Why hasn't he acted up yet? Yower, that ice sand. Delicious. Yi Weiyang stammered as he blushed again after being stared at by Feng Zhiyao. Is that all you got? Feng Zhiyao slowly approached him, seemingly carelessly raising her arm to 2-chapter his butt. What? What should he say? Yi Weiyang didn't dare look her in the eye anymore, because he felt an inexplicable fire ignite in his chapterist, incessantly jumping and spreading in all directions. All right, this silly, unromantic goose. Let her remind him. Weiyang, do you think I'm pretty? Feng Zhiyao smiled sweetly with her beautiful eyes looking around like a fairy. Feng Zhiyao didn't know how enticing that smile on her face right now was, making people's imaginations go wild. Yi Weiyang's beautiful eyes became more and more profound, becoming more and more infatuated with him. He unconsciously stared at that tender and enticing red lips, his heart violently beating. He had a strong desire in his heart, as if he was tasting that soft, sweet, fragrant lips. No, 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 he can't be like this. His tea-chapterer had taught him to be Yaoer's bodyguard before he left, so how could he be so frivolous towards her? He tried hard to operate his martial arts to resist the score-chaptering heat, but his flawless, handsome face was as red as the sun. At this moment, Feng Zhiyao knew clearly in her heart that Yi Weiyang was about to explode. Although there were no emotions in his sharp face and her pair of obsidian-like eyes, they were so enchapteranting that her eyes were drawn in. His straight nose seemed particularly heroic, and his thin lips were tightly pursed. His sword-like eyebrows were slightly knitted, as if he was unhappy. It was obvious that he was working hard to suppress the emotions within his body. Seeing him like this, Feng Zhiyao was even more happy inside. The name of this medicine was Vigorous. As expected, Yi Weiyang really did have a blessing. Don't come near me. He had no chapter choice but to look at her, and did not know if it was because of the candlelight. Right now, her complexion was rosy, like a peach-after blossom on a spring day, and her beautiful eyes shining with starlight stared straight at him, her pink and tender lips making people want to kiss her. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.